You're now tuned in to the NBA Deeper Dive.
Love it. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Deeper Dive, presented by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. Starting off the work week with an 8-game slate, coming off NFL championship weekend, waiting on the Super Bowl, but we got some big prize pools tonight. A lot of games. I'm Dave Loughran, Laffy_D on the Twitters, joined by Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS. Still in New York, huh? How long you staying there? You just gonna not come home?
That would be nice, but no, I'm supposed to leave in like 12 hours, have a 6 a.m. train out, so should be doing tomorrow's show from my apartment.
Okay. What have you been doing all weekend?
Not too much. I mean, good hanging out at bars. Well, I mean, Friday I went to the Rangers game. Saturday I recovered from the Rangers game. Yesterday I went out and watched the football games.
Okay. All right. Well, be home tomorrow. Anyway, we're going to proceed as regularly scheduled here. Happy to have you guys with us. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet, and subscribe to the channel. We're at 72,000 subscribers. Thanks to everybody that hangs out with us every day. But yeah, I mean, let's get it, I don't know, up over 200 out of the gate. That'll do big things. And well, I hate asking, but it helps us out a lot. It feeds the algorithm. We got to play the games. And if you want to join the channel, hit that join down below. Get the free super chats each month, the custom emojis, the sweet badges. And we'll always prioritize your questions and comment along with our premium Discord members. So, all right, let's do it. Yeah, that did kind of sound like Morgan Freeman. It's actually Jordan Freeman disguising his. I can't believe you used a voice changer. Like, did you use an app for that? Oh, okay. And you can just change your voice. All right, cool. Anyway, ready to dive into this, Adam?
Yep.
All right, let's make it happen. And you're a little under the weather today, so we'll take it slow. Feeling better though, right? Not as bad as yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, not as bad as this morning. I actually slept a little bit, so that was good.
I've noticed that whenever I have colds, wicked colds, or presumably COVID at some stage, the mornings and nights are always the worst. The afternoon is somewhat manageable.
Yeah, I didn't sleep last night because I felt like shit, and so the show this morning was rough. But no, I'm good now. You know what
else it could be? What have your drinking habits looked like this week?
Not as much as you would think.
Okay.
But
more than usual?
Probably similar to usual.
You ever notice though, if you go on like a 2 or 3 day drinking session now at our age, I always tend to get, whenever I get sick, it's always after one of those, just
Yeah.
crushing your body.
Oh yeah, yeah. Can't act like I'm in college like I used to be able to.
Oh, no, you'd go to class in the morning.
What?
I'm saying you go to class and you'd be brutal. You'd be in brutal shape. But now, could you imagine having to walk like in the winter to a class after a long night of drinking?
Oh no, I mean, I didn't really do that when I was in college anyway. But
You didn't drink?
go to class. I mean,
Yeah, I know.
but yeah, no, couldn't do it now.
All right. First question, as always, and we got some big spots here that we got to talk about, and we'll get to all of them across this 8-game slate. You got Joel Embiid out, still waiting on Trae Young, no Domantas Sabonis. Dude, I'll go over all of them once we get to those games. We don't need to run down every player right now. Point being, though, is this shaping up to be another one of those big stars and scrubs night based on what type of value we should get?
I think so. I mean, there's not really true stars at the top, so all relative, but there's plenty of value. I mean, on DraftKings, you have Andre Drummond at 3,700 with Embiid out. That kind of speaks for itself. You're possibly going to have a bunch of front court value in Indiana with Sabonis out and Goga Batadze and O'Shea Brissett both questionable. That could open up a lot. You have some value in Oklahoma City, just really cheap value with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander out. So I think it kind of sets itself up to, like, if we had stars, it would be a stars and scrubs slate. Now I think it's going to end up being a little bit more balanced just because you don't necessarily have to pay up for Stephen Curry. But yeah, there's plenty of value.
All right. Mike said, don't ask a man how much he drinks. Why? I mean, I know you're not an alcoholic. If I thought you had a real problem, I probably wouldn't bring it up on stream. But no, I know you're fine. And I drink a lot of water. Listen, I'm telling you, you hit, and I'm 34, almost 35. I don't know, maybe it hits different for you, but at this age, it could be tough. And I do the liquid IVs, no doubt, before I go to bed. And then if I can remember, and then when I wake up, it's not a miracle though. It's not a miracle. Some days you just got to tough it out. All right, let's dive into this one. Enough about that. New Orleans and Cleveland. We'll start here. The Pelicans, we're waiting on some news on this one. This is big. A lot of the players have kind of seen adjustments in price points, but the big thing for me is, what if Valanciunas, Ingram, and Hart all end up being out? Adam, obviously the last time someone like Alvarado was viable as like a legitimate value play, we were without Devontae Graham as well. But what does that open up for us outside of the obvious Hernangomez?
Yeah, I mean, that would be the obvious, but it just opens up minutes and usage for everybody. But like you said, the salaries have adjusted a bit. The matchup isn't great. Even last game, Hernangomez wasn't very good against Boston, but he still played 30 minutes. He would look like a strong value. You got like 35 minutes apiece from Herbert Jones and Josh Hart. You get more minutes for Garrett Temple. At 3,800 on this slate against Cleveland, I'm not really sure how much that matters. Like, it would make him playable, but it certainly wouldn't be a priority. Hart at 6,900 would be okay. Jones at 5,100 would be fine, but I don't really think any of these guys would stand out as priorities. Even Nickeil Alexander-Walker's price tag has jumped to 5,200. You had the big game from Alvarado last time out with everybody out, but he still only played 19 and a half minutes, including garbage time. So it's a situation where, like, if everybody's out, yeah, he's probably playing like 18 minutes or so. But I'm not particularly interested in chasing that, given that the matchup sucks and that he's not likely to have any sort of huge game in 18 minutes. So I think Hernangomez becomes the priority there. If you wanted to, hope he gets in foul trouble, Jackson Hayes is going to play the rest of those 48 minutes. But other than that, I think just mixing in some Josh Hart, some Herbert Jones, but probably not like large amounts is where I'll be at.
Is the only way. I mean, Alexander Walker only played 22 minutes last game? Yeah,
it was a weird rotation for him.
Do you make anything of that? Like, do you think we would need Hart out for him to be, who would we need out for him to be viable again? And when I say that, do we have to worry that maybe we see a similar rotation as last time?
I mean, if Hart and Ingram are out, or even if just Ingram is out, there's the potential for Alexander Walker. Like, there's more minutes available. He gives you scoring, or in theory gives you scoring. The problem with him is just that he is really aggressive offensively and he's not efficient at all. So that just kind of leads yourself to get shortened stints and placed on the bench at times. But the ceiling would still be there. It's just that he's still risky. I mean, we were seeing that even before this string of injuries. You were seeing Alexander Walker down to playing, like 20 minutes a game, just because he's been so inefficient this year that there's not a lot of value in having a Lou Williams type bench scorer that only shoots with the same frequency but doesn't score anywhere close to with the efficiency. There's no real reason to be consistently giving that guy minutes.
If Joval plays or if Ingram play, both, it's funny because we've seen Ingram's price since he's been out drop quite a bit. And he was 9,200 3 games ago for him 3 games ago. And now he's 7,700. Is there any interest if either him or Joval are active today at their price points?
There's a little bit in tournaments. I think more so Joval for me, but again, there's massive opportunity cost at center today. There always is, but today it's even a little bit different because you have the extremely cheap Drummond and then potentially some other guys from the Clippers from Indiana. So Joval always gives you a high ceiling, especially if Ingram were to be out and Joval were to be in, but it's also a very difficult matchup against Cleveland. Same can be said for Ingram at 7,700. He looks okay, and he did get a price drop, like you said. The thing is, he was, I think, pretty clearly overpriced previously. So it's not really a situation where, like, there's a couple of other guys we'll talk about, but it's not really a situation where it's like, oh, well, he's kind of played poorly over 2 weeks, and that's knocked the price down. It's like the price was completely wrong in the first place.
That's a good point. And I guess DraftKings didn't learn their lesson with Drummond because he's right back down to where he was last time this happened.
Shout out to Yahoo for pricing him at $27 so that he's at least some sort of a decision.
Dude, Yahoo's pricing's been a lot better lately. I don't know if you played there yesterday on for NFL, but it was tough to make a lineup at Yahoo, like legitimately tough. So. Yeah,
I heard that. I didn't play there yesterday, but I'd heard it was tough. Whereas DraftKings, you could just put in whoever the hell you wanted.
Yeah, it was a totally different animal, but which is cool though. I mean, you have to like that. Especially if you know how to build lineups. What are you drinking? Is that lemon lime?
Yeah, your favorite.
Never let me live that one down, huh? I don't even remember telling you that story, but it must have been live.
Yeah, it was live.
Okay, that's good. What about Cleveland? Darius Garland's questionable for this one. They're 6.5-point favorites. Real low total here, 209 and a half. If Garland's in, I guess we can start there. If Garland ends up playing, is there any interest in this team? And if Garland's out, what does that do for Cleveland in a respectable matchup against the Pels?
Yeah, I mean, if Garland's in, I think this is a team where you're just kind of using some lower owned guys that have high ceilings, like Garland, like Jared Allen, like Evan Mobley. If Garland's out, though, that's where you really see some things open up because potentially you're getting mid-20s in minutes from a minimum salary Rajon Rondo. You're getting increased usage for Evan Mobley, who has about a 25% usage rate without Garland, Sexton, or Rubio on the floor this year. You're getting increased usage for Kevin Love for whatever minutes he's on the floor. So if Garland's out, it really opens up a lot that would look good here. If he's in, I think it's more just like grabbing one of these guys in some tournament lineups and just hoping that they have a big game because they're certainly talented enough. They certainly have the potential and they're in a good matchup. But if Garland is in, they are, for the most part, I think, correctly priced.
Okay. Yeah, it's certainly a good matchup. So I'd be willing to get some pieces here if Garland sits. He's just been, and you've had Sexton out like most of the year, right? So you've had Garland playing big minutes with heavy usage. And then you lost Rubio too, right? So Garland's assist rate's got to be, I haven't looked, but it's got to be mid to high 30s, close to 40. It might be in the 40s.
Without those two on the floor, it's 37.3%.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's what I figured. So, but what I'm saying is taking him off the floor is going to open a lot up. I guess the question that before we move on is how many minutes would you give to Rondo?
Mid-20s probably. Like he's played a lot with Cleveland before.
His minimum salary.
Yeah, he would look like a very, very good value if Garland is out, I think.
Who do you think benefits the most? Rondo,
yeah.
Okay. Anything else for Cleveland?
Like I'm assuming he would start. I don't know for sure, but
you would think so. And if he does, like 25, 26 minutes, assuming he could get there at minimum salary, is from Rondo. He might not be great in terms of like helping teams win, but Rondo can still produce decent enough numbers as your primary ball handler. So I like that.
For sure. He's played like 80 minutes with Cleveland without Garland, Sexton, Rubio on the floor. He's averaged 0.99 DraftKings points per minute. Overall, in 122 minutes with the Cavs, he's at 1.01 DraftKings points per minute. Yeah, it would just be a very obvious top point per dollar value option.
Yeah, very solid. All right, and we'll pay attention. That's this is, I don't know if you noticed this, by the way. There's 3 games at 7 o'clock. There's 3 games at 7:30, 2 at 8 o'clock, 0 late games today.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
For people asking in, so 2 things for people asking in chat. 4,100 on FanDuel is fine for Rondo as well. Obviously, it's not as good as 3,300. And yes, Pengo started earlier before John Rondo was on the team.
Right. All right, Clippers. Sabonis and Brogdon are out, and the Clippers are still dogs on the road. That just tells you all you need to know. Granted, they're down key players on top of that, but 222 total. They're 2-point dogs. We're still waiting on Nicholas Batum and Ivica Zubac, so we'll pay attention to that. And on the other side, Sabonis is out. Batadze and Brissett are both questionable, so this game could also end up providing us with even more value, given that Turner's still sidelined, Brogdon's out, Sabonis is out. If Batadze's out, let's start with the Clippers, because I would imagine that this is one of those spots that you're not going to have a ton to say about, and then we can talk about the Pacers.
Yeah, there's not a lot to say about the Clippers. Their rotations right now are just pretty unappealing. They played 11 guys in the first half last game, not including Jay Scrubb, who played like a minute and picked up 2 fouls and went back to the bench. You're just not able to really count on minutes for most of these guys. If you want to take some shots at a $5,300 Reggie Jackson, there's certainly a ceiling there, but you just have to keep in mind it comes with plenty of downside as well, both because of playing time and because with Marcus Morris active, he's not quite as doesn't get quite as much usage, doesn't look quite as good. But that is a price tag where it's dropped probably a little bit too quickly, just based on the fact that his playing time's really been down, but part of that is, just weird games like the Wizards game where he got benched at halftime. If he's playing well, the minutes can still be there, and he can certainly pay that off. But I think where you're mostly going to be interested is in the front court here, where Ivica Zubac is questionable. If he's in, like, he's fine, but he's nothing. He's not any sort of priority. If he's out, though, you're probably going to get a pretty nice split between Isaiah Hartenstein and Serge Ibaka. Hartenstein's a very good point per minute guy. He's only 3,300. If Andre Drummond didn't exist on this slate, that would be like a top tier value. With Drummond on the slate, it's still more of a secondary play because I don't think you're getting there over Drummond, but potentially a very appealing point per dollar option.
How many minutes would you give him if Zubac sits?
Depends if he's starting or not, but anywhere from probably 20 if he comes off the bench, 24 if he starts.
How much of him starting do you think depends on whether or not Batadze is active? Do you think they just go real small in Indy?
I mean, they could, and I think that's why there's the potential for there not to be 48 minutes between him and Ibaka. I don't really know if they would. I assume that they're going to start a center and then maybe just close small, but they could, if Batum's back, they certainly could just go with 5 wings basically, or guards and wings.
All right, you want to talk about the Pacers then?
Yeah.
So one more time, if you're just tuning in, no Sabonis, Brogdon, obviously no Miles Turner, but Brissett and Batadze are both questionable. So this is pretty big news. Let's kick it off with the front court. One, what do you do? And you talk about the opportunity cost here as well. I think that's super important. He was out on Saturday, right? And then played 2 minutes the game prior to that after leaving early. It's very possible that he's not active today. What should we expect to see in the Pacers front court?
So if Batadze is available, I expect him to start and look like a pretty good option at 5,900. If he's out, then you have Brissett basically as the next guy up, but he's also questionable. If he's out, then you should see Isaiah Jackson, I would expect. Even if realistically, even if Brissett is in and Goga's out, you could see Isaiah Jackson. Like last game, Jackson was Sabonis's backup. So definitely just another spot where you have to keep an eye on the starting lineup. But basically, so without Sabonis, Brogdon, Turner on the floor, Brissett is at. Whoops, that's the last Turner on. Need to reload that. Brissett is at 0.91 DraftKings points per minute. Batadze is at 1.01. Isaiah Jackson in 111 minutes is at 1.14. So any of those guys starting are going to look like good values. Jackson is 4,100 with power forward center eligibility. Goga 5,900 at center. Brissett 3,900 with power forward center. If whichever of those guys is in the starting lineup looks like a good value.
So do we want to go back to Caris LeVert today?
Want to? No, but I'm assuming I will.
I mean, he's sub 8K right now. He's really struggled, but and two of those games, right, recently at least, have been monster blowouts. This team stinks, okay? They're also dealing with injuries. I get that, and COVID protocol, but against OKC, you got 43 minutes out of him. He shot 3 for 18. He's really struggled, but dude, something has to give eventually with everybody else being out on this team.
Yeah, I mean, the rates are still there. It's Caris LeVert. Like, you're just going to get some inefficient games because he's not that good. But 203 minutes without Sabonis or Brogdon on the floor. Still has a 29% usage rate. He's averaged 1.24 DraftKings points per minute, 32% assist percentage. He's 7,900. It's still a very high upside play. And one other thing I wanted to mention is, like, if Goga or Brissett is out, then I still think Isaiah Jackson, even if he's not starting, is a reasonable value option, just because he is pretty cheap. He's a good point per minute guy, and he's power forward eligible. So, like, if you get Batadze starting, there's still a good chance you're getting like 18 minutes from Jackson as his backup. Even if Batadze's out and they were to start Brissett, there's a good chance you're getting substantial run from Jackson still.
What do you think sorry, I was updating some injury news here for the run sheet. What do you think the front court rotation looks like if Batadze and Brissett sit?
Isaiah Jackson starts and plays as much as he can. Terry Taylor backs him up. It's probably how it goes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they're going to be limited for sure if that's the case. Anybody else for the Pacers you want to hit
on? Duarte at 5K looks fine. Without Sabonis or Brogdon on the floor, he's at 0.82 DraftKings points per minute. As guys start getting ruled out too, though, like, it solidifies, if like Brissett were to be ruled out, it solidifies Torrey Craig's minutes at 4,400. It makes it so Jeremy Lamb could play a bit more at 3,800. It could potentially devolve into a team where you have your clear, like, first line of guys with like LeVert, whoever starting at center, and Duarte, but you could also, start throwing darts at guys like Jeremy Lamb that are very good point per minute guys and just have, questionable playing time, but could certainly play a lot more if they're playing well.
All right, let's keep it moving. We got 8 games to get through here. Memphis and Philly. Oh, and by the way, we always do free tools on the site. Today, NBA main slate ownership projections. You want to follow along, entirely free, and use them. You don't need an account, a sign up or anything. If you want to, though, awesemo.com/join. You can do express passes for the week. You can do all access, Awesemo plus platinum, weekly, monthly, make a legitimate investment, go for the year, one sport, every sport, whatever you want to do for all of the sites out there. And of course, all of the tools, the boom bust tool, top stack, lineup builder, ownership projections, player projections. You can get the Fantasy Cruncher add-on. So check it out, awesemo.com/join if you want to get in on it. And join the Discord, join the office hours where you get the pros answering your questions and helping you better your game. So, yeah, check out all the tools built by Awesemo himself, and won a lot of people a lot of money if you want to do that. So any budget, whatever style of play you are, we got something for you over at Awesemo. But NHL ownership projections and NBA ownership projections, both entirely free today if you're not ready to dive in.
Batadze is out.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Batadze out, Brissett, game time decision.
Game time decision. All right. Well, it's a 7:00 game.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, we've got plenty of 7:00 game time decisions so far.
How much of a priority is Brissett if he plays?
I think he looks like a really good value. Same goes for Isaiah Jackson, just because them both having forward eligibility is really useful. Jackson, the much better point per minute guy. Brissett, you assume is ahead of him in the rotation in terms of minutes, but both of those guys would look like really good values.
Who started at center last game?
Sabonis.
Oh, well, it would have been Sabonis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could Brissett start at center?
He could. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like Jackson was Sabonis's backup, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
No, exactly. Especially if you're a backup, you're playing backup minutes. Maybe they don't want to give this guy starter minutes. We'll see.
Right. I mean, we are expecting the Clippers to have some sort of a center starting, which makes me think maybe they go to Jackson, but yeah, I don't know. We'll have the starting lineup, obviously.
Yeah, we should have it soon. And you got Live Before Lock coming up after us with I believe Josh and Greg today. Should be, usually is, right, Jordan, Josh and Greg? Okay, yeah, they'll take you up to lock. I think they got a 30-minute post-lock show. Hang out with them if you're not doing anything and sweat the lineups, talk ownership, and, of course, Yahoo Fantasy. Memphis, they were 2.5-point dogs earlier, Adam. Embiid's absence moved the line like 7-8 points in some spots, which was insane. Memphis Grizzlies now. What's up?
Carlisle said he's not optimistic about Brissett playing.
All right. Good thing we just broke it all down. I say that seriously too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Okay. Do me this favor real quick. Now that we assume both of them are out, top options for the Pacers.
Isaiah Jackson, Karis LeVert, Duarte, and then just mixing in your Torrey Craig, Jeremy Lamb type guys.
And obviously pay attention to the starting lineup too.
Yeah. Someone had asked if Stevenson could play more. He could, but I think in the line of guys that are likely to pick up more minutes, it's probably Craig and then Lamb and then then Stevenson behind those guys. He's playable in the sense that he's a good point per minute guy, and if he somehow just finds his way into more minutes, he can win you a tournament. But I would be going to Lamb before Stevenson.
What are you doing with the Grizzlies?
Playing a lot of them. I think we're still waiting on Tyus Jones news, I believe.
We are.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Jones still questionable, but that doesn't have too big of an impact. Like if he's out, it solidifies Morant's minutes, but it's not like you really need that anyway. He's going to get you probably 35 minutes or so, one way or the other. At 10-1, I think still looks good, especially with the way that this slate is opening up. You don't have to care that much about if he's, a couple $100 overpriced or not, because you just have so much good value that it's going to be really easy to get there. You don't have a lot of opportunity costs at the top end either, because there's no Embiid, there's no Giannis, Jokic, any of these guys. So I still think that Morant looks good. You still don't have Dylan Brooks, which means increased opportunities for Morant. Without Brooks on the floor this year, he's averaged 1.43 DraftKings points per minute in a little over 1,100 minutes played, 35.5% usage rate, 34.5% assist percentage. I still think he looks really good. Jaren Jackson, Desmond Bane, both look good. Jackson's at 1.16 DraftKings points per minute without Brooks. Bane's at 1.02. I mentioned Jackson in both my DraftKings and FanDuel tournament plays videos just because he's not projected for a lot of ownership. He has a lot of volatility. Obviously he can get in foul trouble, but if he's out there for 30 minutes or so, he looks like a solid option. And then you start getting the guys like Steven Adams, DeAnthony Melton. Those guys are fine as well, but I think a little bit further down the list.
So top options, Morant and Jackson right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So on the Philly side, Embiid's absence just opens everything up. I mean, you've got Tobias Harris, who's playing a little bit better recently. He's got a 31% usage rate without Joel Embiid this season. And then you've got guys like Curry and such, but Andre Drummond is the obvious place to start here, right? It's shocking that his price has fallen as far as it has on DraftKings. They should do it like they do backup running backs, where they're all, 5K, at least guys like Drummond, right? He's 4,400 on FanDuel. DraftKings, he's 3,700. And a lot of these guys you and I are talking about that are centers that could be getting starts today, a couple of them have power forward eligibility too. So with Andre Drummond at this price, it's stupid cheap.
Yeah, there's just kind of no way around it. The issue that you run into when someone's this cheap and this productive is there's nobody that gives you a similar range of outcomes unless you are just assuming he gets hurt or something. Like, there's no other $3,700 guys that are likely to play 28 minutes and average 1.2 DraftKings points per minute. Like, those guys just don't exist. And even if you were to point to somebody like Isaiah Jackson, like say he's starting, you just play him alongside Drummond. It's not like you have to play one or the other. So it's just really difficult to get away. And I know we had just gotten a super chat that said,
this is from Mr. Super Chat Etiquette himself, by the way. Always super chats on the game that we're talking about. He's just very skilled at it. Go ahead.
Yeah. He said Drummond at 70.4% projected ownership. At what point do you eat the chalk versus pivot? If you pivot and for some reason he sucks, you just beat 70% of the field. That's true, but the problem is that, and this is where the boom bust tool really comes into play, because
63% optimal chance.
Yeah, and I'm assuming a massive boom percentage as well.
87%.
Right. It's just that there's nothing comparable there.
Guess what his bust percentage is?
If you were going to pivot, maybe you go like, I don't know, Yusuf Nurkic, and let's just, for the sake of this conversation, say that Jonas Valanciunas is in. So like you get two more expensive high upside centers and you hope that they both go for like 50. But the problem is that Drummond is projected for like 30 to 35. So it's just, there's nothing comparable to get to. It's just a spot where I'm going to just play as much as I can.
So guess what his bust percentage is?
Like 3%.
1%. It's crazy. He's just okay. So from a minute standpoint, it's not even if you were to give Drummond 28 minutes or 31 minutes, I don't think it would make any difference at all in terms of how much you're going to get of him.
Right.
So I mean, he started plenty of games in the past this season. My assumption is you get around 30 minutes, but I'm not sure. We saw really erratic minutes from him in the starting lineup, but what do you give him, around 30?
Yeah, I mean, he's averaged 28 minutes per game in his starts so far this year. I think that's a pretty good starting point.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
He could play more, though, for sure. But it doesn't really matter. What are you doing with Harris and Maxey?
I like Harris a little bit more than Maxey. I think that they both look pretty good, though. Harris this year has close to a 30% usage rate without Embiid on the floor. You're likely to get 35, 36 minutes from him. Maxey has a 25% usage rate. He's 6,600 on DraftKings, likely to play 36 minutes or so. Both of those guys look good. You can throw Seth Curry in there as well at 5,300. Has about a 22.5% usage rate, which is up a couple of points from where it normally is. So without Embiid on the floor, Harris 1.19 DraftKings points per minute, Maxey 1.01, Curry 0.88. All of those guys just look like pretty good values.
Okay. Anybody else from Philly?
Korkmaz is out, so I think you could see extended run from Niang at 3,500. So not like the worst value, but on this particular slate, pretty far down the list. And then I guess one other thing to mention is you probably are going to get Bassey backing up Drummond. On some slates, I'd be really interested in Bassey, just like if Drummond were, let's say, 6,500 and you could just get like a totally different build using Bassey as the backup. But the issue that I think you run into here is that they're essentially the same price. And so, like, yeah, Bassey's going to have no ownership. And if something happens foul-wise to Drummond, Bassey's going to play more. But still just a really tough sell when Drummond's basically the same price.
So Zubats is out. Batum is in. Now we're just getting more value at that position.
Yeah, which we do not need.
In a good matchup, too. Really good matchup against the Pacers.
Yeah. Somebody said, can you play Bassey and Drummond together? I wouldn't, because there's just so many good plays on this slate.
Yeah, maybe a shorter slate.
Right, yeah. Like we talked about it a lot with NFL yesterday, and we've talked about it on shorter NBA slates. Like, you shouldn't care about negative correlation a lot when there isn't much opportunity cost. But when there is, you don't you don't want to basically waste roster spots on guys that are blocking each other out.
Yeah, the Millie Maker winner had Mixon and P. Ryan. I mean, you got to get it.
And yeah, I mean, that guy was from the future. P. Ryan and whatever the backup tight end's name on the Rams was.
Oh, yeah, Kendall Blanton.
Yeah.
You should have seen the lineup that won the $300,000 Sunday special or championship round special. he went with a Rams onslaught with Kendall Blanton and didn't play Matthew Stafford. And then he had Joe Burrow, and the only player he stacked him with was Samaje Perine. Crazy.
That's amazing.
Crazy. Yeah. And he took down 100. Oh, and he had one lineup. So, yeah, wild weekend of football. Let's talk about Miami and Boston. Before we do, though, shout out to our sponsor, Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. Adam and I were talking about it before. Just the pricing so much better. The payout structure over there is excellent. You got the $50K Monday Night Baller today. I know they're going to have a huge Super Bowl contest. Familiarize yourself with the site, especially with basketball season in full swing. I love playing over there. You've got, like I said, the lowest rake or management fee, as they call it at Yahoo, that you're going to find. And you get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum just by signing up using the link in the description, or the one that Jordan Klein, our wonderful producer, is about to throw in the chat right now. $90 value, everything on the site. All the tools I mentioned just a moment ago when I was talking about all of the subscriptions we have, everything on the site for the entire month is 100% free. You sign up using the link in the description for Yahoo, and you get $10 in free credit over there as well. So check it out. No reason not to. And like I said as well, when you do so, be sure to get that $10 injected into your account. Use it for whatever, like the $50K baller tonight. And if you're trying to expedite the process, email us at support@awesemo.com. We'll do our best to speed that up for you if you want to get in now and get that free subscription, because we have everything for Yahoo, all of our tools for Yahoo as well. Check it out, Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. All right.
So
Adam, go ahead.
No, so we got Ibaka starting.
Oh, okay.
My guess is you're getting like 22 to 24 minutes from Ibaka, like 20 from Hartenstein, and then closing lineup probably has Morris at the 5. But I think it makes Hartenstein still look like a good value, just not as good as, if you were starting.
And then Brandon Ingram's out. Joe Val and Hart are game time decisions. Anything else we missed? I think that's it. Right?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Batum off the bench. Okay, we're good. How about Miami, man? No Jimmy Butler. You've got no Kyle Lowry. And then, some other guys that PJ Tucker's out. Yurtsevin is out. But I want to start with Bam, because this guy, with Jimmy Butler off the floor and Kyle Lowry since the start of last season, he's got a 29% assist rate, leads the team. Granted, Dragic is no longer there. Bam Adebayo, very good passer, someone that is going to essentially control the offense tonight for large stretches. You're right that this is a deep position, but it's hard not to like Bam with all of these players out for Miami.
Yeah, he gets a nice bump without Butler. We did also just get Isaiah Jackson expected to start. Makes him look like a fantastic value.
Yeah, top play.
Yeah, especially because he's power forward eligible. But Adebayo, even without worrying about Kyle Lowry for a second, just the Jimmy Butler piece is a big deal. Like, you get more production from him. He's played 3 games without Butler this year, has a 24% usage rate, 18% assist percentage. If you take Lowry off the floor along with Butler, the assist percentage jumps to like 24.5%. Usage rate holds at about 24.5%. Makes him look like a very strong option. Again, the issue is you're basically using a center spot on Drummond. And then, like, let's say that Valanciunas gets ruled out. You have Hernan Gomez at 5,600. So it makes it kind of difficult to get to Bam. And the matchup's not super appealing. But at the same time, Bam, I think, looks great at 7,500.
Me too. I got to ask you, of all the centers, of all these value centers opening up, you have Jackson, Ibaka, Drummond. Drummond's number 1, but do you have any preference for the other guys down here? If you can only play a couple, Jackson has power forward eligibility, so that makes it a lot easier. But yeah, like you said, you're playing Drummond probably, and then if you want to get Bam in there, you're limited to that. You're not getting to that other value. So
right, and this goes back to why, like, I don't think you can play Drummond and Bassey together. Like that person that said, for 6,800, you're getting 48 minutes at center, which is true, but you really need both lineup spots to go off, especially on a slate like this. If, let's say, Bassey scores like 20 fantasy points, that's still not really a good use of a lineup spot for you. And for Bassey to, like, have a ceiling, you need Drummond to not play as much, which is hurting you there. And guys like Bam are a reason why, because he can just very easily go get you 40 to 50 DraftKings points. It's just an extremely deep position.
Yeah, and it's not the best matchup, to be fair. I wouldn't mind if it was against like Portland, but it might not matter here just from a minutes and usage perspective. In this scenario too, Tyler Herrera leads the team in usage. So, I mean, he's another guy that's going to pull ownership, and rightfully so. You're not paying a premium at all for him today. How much do you like Tyler Herrera?
I like him in tournaments. 6,200. You're talking about someone with around a 31% usage rate without Butler or Lowry on the floor. He's not great. So, I mean, you kind of get the inconsistency there. It's sort of Caris LeVert light. But still, just without Butler on the floor, 30.4% usage, 1.08 DraftKings points per minute for Hero this season. If you take Lowry off the floor as well, 32.6% usage, 1.1 DraftKings points per minute, 20.5% usage rate. Makes him look like a very strong option at 6,200, I think.
Anybody else for Miami? Because Bam and Tyler Herro, obviously the two top options here, but what else opens up? Like a Caleb Martin? Do we want to go value there?
Yeah, I mean, so I think that Bam and Hero are the priorities, but then looking to Vincent, Strus, Martin, all of those guys make sense as well, because not only are you missing Butler, you're missing PJ Tucker, which doesn't open up any sort of usage or anything, but it still opens up minutes. We already had Gabe Vincent in the starting lineup for Lowry, likely giving you 32 to 34 minutes. He actually leads the team in minutes played without Butler or Lowry on the floor. He's averaged 0.86 DraftKings points per minute without them. Strus is at 0.88. Martin's at 0.8. There's a good chance that you end up getting like 34 minutes from Vincent, 30 minutes from Strus, 30 from Martin. Like that could certainly happen and would make all of those guys look like good values. So yeah, like I think Hero and Bam are the top guys in terms of upside and potential to just, put up a massive score. But I think all of Vincent, Strus, Martin are good values as well.
Do you have any thoughts on how many Miami players are willing to roster in the same lineup?
Probably still don't want to go more than like 2 or 3, just because there's so many good plays on this slate. That's kind of it's kind of goes back to the opportunity cost thing on a lot of slates. You're like, if this were a smaller slate or just a slate where there weren't a lot of good plays, I'd be more comfortable going 3 or maybe even 4. But here it's just kind of like, how do you get the tournament winning game from all of Bam, Hero, and Vincent? Not it can happen, but it's not super likely, especially in what should be a pretty slow paced game. So probably 2 or 3.
I guess the only argument would be like, I mean, how many minutes are you giving Caleb Martin?
Should be around 30, I think.
Okay. I guess the only argument there would be that he's so cheap, you might not need a big game if you did plug him in as the third. But
yeah, but on this slate, I think you do is the problem. Like,
you think so?
Like if you have a roster spot at 3,500, let's say he goes for like 22 points, that's fine. And I'm not saying it'll prevent you from winning, but there's just a good chance it does, because you have not only do you have Drummond and Jackson, but even thinking about like all of the other sort of wings you could rotate through. You have Jeremy Lamb, you have Lance Stevenson, you have in the Golden State game, you have all of Kuminga, Peyton. I'm forgetting another one I think that's cheap, but there's just like a lot of sort of random-ish type wings that can give you 30 fantasy points. So I think that having any roster spot score like 22 points tonight is probably going to set you behind the eight ball.
Very fair. All right. Hold on. We had a question from one of our premium members in Super Chat, in Discord. Where are we at? Here we go. Okay. If Hero's not starting, is he still a priority play from Jets World? And if he's not starting, he's still going to play the same minutes.
Yeah, he's closing regardless.
Yeah, unless they get blown out. That's when coming off the bench would really hurt him.
Right.
But can't really predict for that. What do you got for Boston?
Not nearly as much as for Miami. It's still a pretty unappealing game. I think that the guy that stands out the most to me on DraftKings is Marcus Smart at 5,300. It's like a weird price point where you're never excited to roster Smart because he's not a high usage guy, doesn't get a ton of assists or anything, but he is likely to give you 32 minutes or so at a pretty cheap price tag. So there is, just some upside there if he runs into some extra steals or gets hot from 3 or something like that. But, excuse me, but nothing that really stands out. I mean, Horford's still at the really annoying like $5,100 salary where um he can do well, but he's probably not going to. You get a high ceiling from guys like Brown, Tatum, and Williams, but they're all pretty difficult to get to, I think.
Okay. Toronto, Atlanta. Toronto Raptors, 1.5-point favorites, 216 total. We're still waiting on the Trae Young news. And that is a big piece of news. We've been getting a lot, fortunately, a lot of early games. So maybe we'll get that sooner than later. Again, Josh and Greg coming up next. They got you covered on Live Before Lock. If we don't get to it here, what are you doing with the Toronto Raptors? It feels like so far they're one of the only teams we've touched on that doesn't have a ton of people, or at least a couple key members, even one key player being sidelined or questionable. But Van Vliet, Siakam, still relatively popular on the slate.
Yeah, and you don't need guys sidelined on Toronto because Nick Nurse is going to just run them into the ground anyway. Yeah. He came out the other day and said he's going to expand his rotation because they have a lot of upcoming games, blah, blah, blah. Then, if anything, he condensed it last game. So that was good to see. I always enjoy when coaches would like to do something and then don't realize that they actually can do that. But at this point, I don't see any reason to think that you're getting fewer minutes from these guys. 8,700 for Van Vliet, I think, looks very good, especially because, again, you're kind of just playing the game on the slate where once you get your value guys in, you're just trying to get the most draw points and, from these other pieces. So they don't necessarily have to be the best point per dollar values because you've already gotten plenty of those guys. Van Vliet, we know, can go out there and give you 50 plus fantasy points at 8,700. So I do really like him. Siakam, Barnes, Anunoby, Trent, I think all look fine. They're going to play a lot of minutes. I think that their prices are a little bit more correct than Van Vliet's is.
Oh, were you done speaking?
Yeah.
That's odd.
Trae Young's a game time decision.
You pulled a Makajeski on me. Jordan, did he just pull a Makajeski? He did, right?
I finished my sentence. What do you mean?
You finished your sentence as if you were starting a new sentence. Usually you're very good about just shutting it down. And I know you're very good about that. I know when you're done speaking, but this time, I don't know, Jordan, you be the judge. You think he was still going? Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I ended weird because I was about to look at the notification on my phone. So I thought I was going to have something else to say, but then it was just Trae Young's a game time decision. So I didn't.
I think that's what it was. I was shocked. So usually you're very good. Like I could not be listening, but still listening and know when you're done. And this time caught me off guard for sure. Do you want to talk about anything else for Toronto? And yeah, you're right. Trae Young, game time decision. That kind of sucks. We should still know, which I think we'll still know pretty soon. But anything else for Toronto? You want to talk about Atlanta?
I think we can go to Atlanta. Boucher, I guess, would be the last thing to sort of mention from Toronto, but it's not any sort of priority. It's just that he didn't play a lot last game, but you could conceivably get like 24 minutes from him at 5,200. And if that's the case, he probably has a good game, but there's just so many good plays tonight that I think it's difficult to get there.
Okay. See, that was solid. That was good. Jordan's nodding in agreement.
Yeah. The chat's agreeing with you too. That sounded weird.
It was like someone was like knocking, something abruptly changed your attention to something else, All right. Atlanta. If Trae Young, let's just do this first of all. If Trae Young ends up playing, do we want to get to anyone from Atlanta without any relative frequency?
Probably not. I mean, Young himself would look fine. Again, kind of like we were saying with Van Vliet and with Morant, it doesn't matter if you think Trae Young is $500 overpriced on this slate. You're going to need whatever guys get, 55, 60 points because it's not going to be difficult at all to get to them. John Collins and Clint Capela are both pretty fairly priced. The issue, I like the idea of Capela in tournaments. I'd mentioned him in my tournament plays videos, but we've just had even more stuff open up since then. And you're not getting that many minutes from Capela recently. He's playing 26 minutes or so. He's a 1.14 DraftKings point per minute guy. He certainly can give you a big game. He has a lot of upside, but it's just so difficult to get a lot of him because of what you have to give up at the position. Collins at 6,500 should give you around 30 minutes or so. Makes him look fine, but I prefer Jaren Jackson at that price point. So if Young is in, I don't think there's much that looks like a priority from Atlanta.
What if Trae Young happens to sit?
Then it opens up a lot because Atlanta could still run a pretty deep rotation. Like DeLon Wright's 3,400. We've seen him play a lot of minutes with Young out in the past with mixed results. But if he moves into the starting lineup, that's another quality value piece you can look to. But from a production standpoint, you get increased usage from John Collins. His per minute production goes up, makes him look better. Bogdan Bogdanovic is a fantasy point per minute guy without Trae Young on the floor. He's 4,700, played about 28 minutes off the bench last game, would make him look like a good value. Guys like Kevin Herrera, Danilo Gallinari, they can take on a little bit bigger role as well. So it's not necessarily a team where, like with the exception of DeLon Wright and maybe to a lesser extent Lou Williams, where you expect anyone to really pick up a ton more minutes necessarily, but it just opens up so much production that it makes a lot of guys that were already getting minutes look even better.
We were 300. We had 125 likes to get our to 500. I think we crushed that. We got 11 minutes to go. Yeah, we got that. No problem whatsoever. If you're on your phone, click out of that chat, pop right in there, hit thumbs up, come back to us. And subscribe to the channel too. But yeah, get us over 500. It only takes a second. Anyway, Adam, Kings 6.5 point dogs against New York, 212 total. De'Aaron Fox questionable. Marvin Bagley out.
Are you there? I thought my internet froze.
I'm good. No. That's what you sounded like. De'Aaron Fox is questionable. This is a big one today. I guess I don't know how big it is because Halliburton's coming off that monster game against Philly, right? He hit an insane Kawhi Leonard type 3 baseline that just absolutely killed me on the betting front. But that's besides the point. If Fox is out again, and when was the last time he played? He had played like 10 days ago, 11, 12 days ago. Is there anybody that's really making for good value?
Still probably not. So, I think Metu is the piece that looks like the best value option, assuming he's in the starting lineup in place of Bagley. Now, last game he was behind Mo Harkless in the rotation, but he was Metu was questionable for that game also. He's typically been more or less splitting the minutes with Bagley. So I think it's likely that Metu starts. If he does at 3,700, that's yet another good point per dollar value option that you can get to. Fox, I don't think matters quite as much because you've had the prices adjust. If Fox is out, Tyrese Halliburton has a massive ceiling. He's got like a 39% assist percentage without De'Aaron Fox on the floor this year. He's averaging about 1.08 DraftKings points per minute. He's likely to play a ton of minutes, but this is still a very slow New York team. It's a Sacramento team that only has a 103 implied total, and Halliburton's price has been jacked up to 8,500. So it's more of a, last piece in at probably pretty low ownership in tournaments type play than a priority. Same can be said for Davion Mitchell, who probably starts if Fox is out, but he's up to $4,900. So even if you get 30 to 32 minutes, he's basically priced where he should be. So it's not much that looks great here outside of the front court. Talked about Metu, and then also Rashawn Holmes likely to play 28 to 30 minutes at 5K. The issue for him is that's he's still no Andre Drummond. He's no Bam Adebayo. He's probably not as good a value as like even Hartenstein at 3,300. So still just sort of a secondary option, I think.
How do you feel about the Knicks in an obvious good matchup? I mean, the Kings play at the 8th fastest pace. Defensively, they've been brutal this season, 3rd worst in the league, according to their defensive rating. Like, do we want to get some pieces of RJ Barrett, even though he's north of 7K? Do we want to get to Randall on a slate where we can easily go stars and scrubs with a lot of other players? How do you approach a team like the Knicks tonight?
Yeah, I think Randall and Kemba are probably the first 2 spots I get to. Randall's really struggled recently, but it's also resulted in his price dropping, and this is a good matchup against Sacramento. And like you were saying, there's just so much value that it's not going to be that difficult to just get Julius Randall into some lineups. Kemba's only 4,500 on FanDuel, 5,400 on DraftKings. I'm not confident at all in his playing time. If you go back the last couple of games prior, if you skip over the most recent game and go back to the couple before that, you were getting like 18, 19 minutes from Kemba. Now, one of those, only one Knicks starter even played in the 4th quarter, but the one before that, he didn't close either. But then last game, he plays like 28 minutes. So if he's going to get relatively little ownership at 4,500 on FanDuel, that's an interesting spot to go to, because if he gets 28 to 30 minutes here, there's a good chance that he's playing well and earned those minutes and that he's really paying off that price tag. There is still risk, though, because you can always get Grimes on the floor for defensive reasons. You can get Quickly closing over him if Quickly's playing well. So it's still risky, but I don't mind taking shots at those two guys. I think Barrett, Robinson, Fournier are a bit more difficult to get to, just given their respective prices or, in Robinson's case, position. And this morning I had mentioned not only Kemba, but taking some shots at Quickly and Grimes. That's a lot less appealing to me now that we've gotten a million other value plays.
All right. So as it stands, just assuming De'Aaron Fox, I mean, are you projecting Fox in or out? He's been out for a while. It's hard to just assume he's going to be in, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have him in for now. I'm not real confident in that, though.
Yeah. Okay. Assuming he plays, who are your top options from this game?
Metu, if he's starting. Kemba, risky, but I think has the potential to pay off really well.
Okay. All right. 2 games to go. We'll break these down. We definitely have a lot to talk about there. If we go a minute over it, it's okay. I don't think Josh is going to be too upset. But before we do, Jordan, let's induct a couple people into the Hall of Fame here. This is what we do every time on the Deeper Dive. You want to get involved. You want to catch a shout out, get inducted, and get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Everything on the site, $90 value. Hall of Fame. Go to awesemo.com/avatar. Download it. Use it at Yahoo, FanDuel, DraftKings, wherever it is. Tweet us your wins at Awesemo, HOF on the Twitters. If it's a win of top three 5,000 or more, or if you're just happy about it and you want to get in here, even if you're not getting the free month, but top 3 field of 5,000 or more wins a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Here's Dabber. We're going to keep him up, I guess, for a couple more days. I get it. $100,000 win. Screenshot, just unlike anything I've ever seen at this point. I mean, I don't even know if he really won. He did. It's confirmed. But anyway, second place, 100K. Big win for Dabber. Sotex, what's up, man? He's in chat all the time. 4K. Great week on Yahoo starting this past January. I read that a bunch of times already, but keep it up, man. Carlos, our boy Carlos in chat as well. Nice little win there. First place in the Pooch Punt. And then you've got Shai Lansky with $64,750 win there. 2 more to go. First out of 23.9. See, you win $150. You still get that free month of Awesemo. Good stuff, Gregory. And then Soul Cube 5K. Thanks to the fellas over at Awesemo. Our NHL stuff's been doing big things lately. Another big hit, 5K up top for Soul Cube and the NHL product coming through. So yeah. Download the avatar. Hit us up. Awesemo HOF. Get inducted into the Hall of Fame here. Get your free month of Awesemo and, join the family. All right, let's do it. Adam, Golden State, Houston. We have no Bielitsa and you have no Otto Porter Jr. What are we doing now? You already kind of teased it earlier with Golden State. Let's get into it a little bit deeper.
Yes, I mean, this is another one where there's kind of like 2 different things going on with this team. There's the guys that are starting, and you can obviously break them down. It's a really good spot against Houston. Bielitsa being out means that Kevon Looney is likely to play a lot of minutes again. I think it's likely you're getting 28 minutes or so from him. Makes him look like yet another appealing center option at 4,900. Klay Thompson should play 26 minutes or so. We know what we're getting from Steph. It's going to be very easy to get to Steph. He's the strong play, clearly. And then Wiggins, also likely to play 34 minutes or so at 6,600. I think the biggest question mark here is who is starting in place of Porter. My guess is Kuminga at 4K, which would make him look like another very good power forward option. If he starts, I think it's likely he plays 24, 25 minutes, somewhere in there, in a good matchup against Houston. Plenty of upside for him. You could also potentially see like Gary Payton start. You could see Jordan Poole start against Houston. There's no reason that you can't have Wiggins playing the 4, but either way, with Bielitsa out, with Porter out, with Green out, there's a lot of front court minutes available to where if it is Kuminga starting, he looks like a very good value. But you could still take shots at guys off the bench like Gary Payton at 3,500, because with this team shorthanded, he could very easily still get to like 20 to 24 minutes. And against Houston, you could see a big game from Gary Payton. So it kind of goes back to what I was saying when we talked about how many Miami guys to play. It's not that I think Gary Payton has a better chance of if Gary Payton's coming off the bench, it's not that I think he has a better chance of success than Caleb Martin. It's that if 2 or 3 other guys on Miami are already going off, I would rather be taking shots at somebody like a Payton and where, he could just be a higher scorer than Martin. Because I think basically there's a lot of guys like Gary Payton on this slate. A couple of them are going to do well in terms of raw points, not just points per dollar. So I think that's sort of what I was getting at when we were talking about Martin. But if he comes off the bench, I do like mixing him into some tournament lineups at low ownership.
Is this one of those nights where you're willing to get a little bit more Curry, or is he still just a secondary option?
No, I mean, I think you still get, like, I'll get to Curry, I think. You want to pay attention to the ownership for sure, because like, yes, he projects better than somebody like John Morant or Fred VanVleet, but those guys all can do, well, not necessarily what Curry can. Like, Curry could conceivably score like 80 actual points, but within reason, they can still give you the same sort of game as Curry at a cheaper price tag. So I think you do want to pay attention to the ownership, but Curry absolutely looks like a good play here. One of the better, this is the first time in a while, I think, on a slate of this size that Curry's looked good, but it's just because you have so much value and you don't have those other pay-up options competing with him. You know, getting, let's say, 55, 60 DraftKings points from Curry at 11K is a lot more likely to be useful tonight than it is on a lot of slates.
For sure. Let's hit on these super chats real quick. I want to run through these. Who are your top 3 must-haves for the big tournament on DraftKings? Adam, tough question, but your top 3 options today for large field tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say must-have, but Drummond and Isaiah Jackson, I think, are the clear top 2. After that, I don't really know that there is a third for me, because it just starts to get into like a lot of mid-range guys that I like that have similar ranges of outcomes. But I think Drummond and Jackson is where most of my lineups would start. After that, you know, looking to guys like Maxey, Hero, Bam, Harris, like Josh Giddey, any of those guys are strong, you know, third pieces. Love
Bam today.
Yep.
Best value shooting guard on FanDuel for this slate. And while you look that up, ownership is, I saw someone ask what ownership was coming in on Curry. Ownership projections are totally free today over at awesemo.com. Check them out. And while you're at it, I know a lot of you guys use OddsShopper for betting. New York it's got it now. Louisiana, you can bet on all these major books. So use the link in the description to get the insane match deposit bonuses, all of that ridiculous, you know, $500 free bets. Take advantage of that. And even if you're not in New York, if you haven't done it yet and you're in a legal state, it's open to you as well. Go ahead, Adam.
Looks like Josh Giddey.
Okay. And last one, how do you feel about Davion Mitchell for FanDuel tournaments? You kind of talked about Davion Mitchell. Mitchell.
I need to find his FanDuel price specifically. Damn it.
While we do, I'm gonna tee this up because we're already over here. But I mean, par for the course.
So hang on. Mitchell's 4,900 on FanDuel as well. He's just kind of there. Like, I would much rather be going to Maxey or whoever I just said a second ago, Giddey. Yeah. Like, it's just kind of the correct price, I think.
What do you like for Houston?
Not a ton that stands out in terms of prioritization. Hey, I got it in 2 tries that time. But, you know, looking to Eric Gordon or Christian Wood or Jayshawn Tate, like any of those guys look okay. We are waiting on the Kevin Porter Jr. news. Last game, it just meant, with him being out, it just meant that Garrison Matthews played a ton, essentially. So it's just a team sort of full of secondary plays, nothing that stands out.
Josh. All right. Portland and OKC. Portland's got a lot of players out, but Adam, this is yet another situation where most of them have been out. But at the same time, all of them relatively, not all of them, but many of them relatively popular again today against OKC. So 216.5 total. Portland actually 4-point favorites on the road. So that says all you need to know. And the Thunder are without SGA, which is huge. So feel free actually to break down both sides of this one. I have no problem tying them together. Kick it off with Portland, though.
Fox is out. We already talked about that, but just for anybody wondering, starting with the Portland side, I really like Portland. I guess not as much now as I did this morning, given all of the news, but Nurkic is another very high upside center option at 8,300. Just somebody certainly capable of going and getting 50 DraftKings points. I really like CJ McCollum still at 7,600. He's giving you 37, 38 minutes in competitive games. He's around a 1.1 to 1.15 DraftKings point per minute guy without Lillard on the floor. Anthony Simons, Norman Powell, those guys look fine as well. On the OKC side, you're missing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So there's a couple of things that work there. For one, Josh Giddey is ridiculously good without Gilgeous-Alexander on the floor. Assist percentage goes up, usage rate goes up. He's averaged over a fantasy point per minute. He's really cheap on FanDuel, as I mentioned before, at 5,700, 7,300 on DraftKings, looks good as well. Lou Dort at 6K is fine. The issue with Dort is that he's very inefficient, but the good thing with Dort, without Gilgeous-Alexander on the floor, he's got about a 25% usage rate this year, so the opportunities are there, and he's averaged 0.82 DraftKings points per minute, despite like a 47 or 48% true shooting percentage. So he has shown you that he can at least give you serviceable production, even when he's not shooting well. If those shots fall, he can give you a massive game. And then you get some value here. I'm not sure who's going to start. We had Trey Mann start in place of Wiggins last game. I don't know if he's stays in the starting lineup now in place of Gilgeous-Alexander. But at 3,500, he would look like another good value. Potentially Ty Jerome starts, in which case you could just swap Mann to Jerome. Kenrich Williams fits into that like Gary Payton II basket, where he's not any sort of a priority, but at 3,600, he could easily give you 26 minutes and be a good option. So I think Giddey is the number one guy here for me. Dort is second. And then, just kind of rotating through the Mann, Williams, Jerome type pieces.
Okay. Last question, then we'll flip it over. You talked about Giddey, and understandably so. He's pretty popular, ranks nicely in the boom bust tool, but would you consider him a priority just in terms of, one of the top plays on the slate today? On
FanDuel, for sure. On DraftKings, he's one of the best plays, but he's more so just kind of in a mix of a bunch of guys that look really good at 7,300. But on FanDuel at 5,700, I think just absolutely one of the top options.
All right. That'll do it for us. You guys were a lot of fun today. Chat is always enjoyable. Adam, real quick, we had a question in a super chat. What are you setting any rules for Pacers players?
Actually hadn't really thought about it yet, but I guess I probably don't want more than one of like Stevenson, Lamb, Craig, like those type of guys. But as far as guys that are likely to really get into my lineups with any frequency, I don't really think so.
All right. Well, follow Adam at Ship My Money DFS. Hit me up at Laffy_D. Appreciate you guys. Almost 600 likes on today's stream. You got 3,100 people watching. Don't go anywhere. Greg, Josh, coming up next. Then taking you 30 minutes additional time. Have some fun. Hang out if you're not doing anything. And stick around for the rest of the night. Appreciate you guys as always. It's the Deeper Dive presented by Yahoo. Peace. Oh, and shout out to Jordan Klein.
You're watching Live Before Lock.
Who even needs the modified voice? Oh, is it going to be fast now? You're watching Live Before Lock. Is it like the Chipmunks? Yeah, easy Mickey Mouse.
You're now tuned in to NBA Live
Is that
Before
Mickey
Lock.
Mouse? You can't have fast beats and then slow voice. Welcome to Live Before Lock. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Greg Ehrenberg. It is Monday, January 31st. We are brought to you by Yahoo Sports. And if you were watching anything in the past 2 minutes, you would have seen Darius Garland is out for Cleveland. And we are going to kick it off with that. Before we do anything, for the 3,000 of you that are in here right now, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. We'll start before we get to Garland with Greg. How are you?
I would be doing better if all of this news didn't come out. As is tradition, when you and I do shows together, it doesn't matter. We do shows together once a week. Last year, we were doing shows together like 3 times a week. As is tradition, everybody gets ruled out the second before we start the show. So De'Aaron Fox out, Darius Garland out, and O'Shea Brissett was also just ruled out.
And I think you and I are probably on the same page here for this one in that I don't think this is going to stop. I mean, like, there's obviously an upper bounds, the amount of people that we could talk about, but every single one of these games tips off by 8 o'clock. We're on till 7:30. I think we're just going to get beat over the head with news over and over and over again up until 7. And then I don't think it's going to get much better for that 30 minutes where you and I are going to be using that extra 30 minutes to just late swap.
Yeah, most likely.
So that should be fun. Mitchell, Halliburton, Barnes, Harkless, and Holmes starting for the Kings. We can start there. How do you feel about that?
I like Tyrese Halliburton, particularly on There's a big difference between him on FanDuel and DraftKings because he's 7,700 on FanDuel. He's 8,500 on DK. There's still some upside him in 8,500 on DK because you and I were briefly talking about this before we started and we're flipping over the shows. Halliburton really does everything for the Kings this year when Fox isn't on the court, but the 8,500 price tag is just about fair. The 7,700 is too cheap. So I like him a lot on FanDuel. DK, take it or leave it.
Okay. We're on the same page there. I mean, the FanDuel price looks really good to me, or as good as it could look. I don't mind 8,500. It'd be nice if he also had the point guard eligibility. That is kind of what, like, I don't want to say that it hurts him, but that's another big miss there for Halliburton. Still, you're probably getting there at least a little bit at this point. Also, just for anybody that missed it, O'Shea Brissett is officially out. I took him out earlier, so that's one thing that I don't actually have to correct for. The moment that they said it wasn't likely that he was going to play, that should be fun. And can we talk about how anybody's referencing Terry Taylor as a center? I mean, he's like, if PJ Tucker is the center, this dude's 6'5".
Well,
look, everybody's a center on the Pacers today.
Yeah. So let's see, who are the tall guys available?
Torrey Craig is the tallest guy available that isn't Isaiah Jackson, who actually is a center.
And by the way, I love Isaiah Jackson today. That aside, though,
hot take.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if Isaiah Jackson gets into foul trouble, like what the hell do they do? Maybe it doesn't even matter because the Clippers are starting Serge Ibaka, who couldn't score against a chair right now. So it probably doesn't even matter who they end up putting out there. It'd be massively problematic if they're playing against Embiid or Jokic or something. It probably doesn't even matter that much in this matchup, but Isaiah Jackson is going to play as much as he can.
Yeah, I don't know how many minutes to give him. I have him at 28 right now. It could conceivably be 40.
Yeah.
I know that sounds ridiculous to some people, but it's like he's going to play as much as he possibly can without looking like he's going to die from a cardiovascular standpoint or just picking up too many fouls. Like those are the only things. His wind and his fouls are the only things that are going to bring him off the floor at this point. They just don't have any other human beings on the roster active today that look like him.
Yeah, he's going to be really good. Just really, when we were building these lineups, it's just a question of, okay, we like all of these value plays. How much of them do we want to play and who are we paying up for?
Yep. All right. Well, let's walk through Cleveland here because we've got no Darius Garland. I think that's pretty big news. I'm going to start running well, yeah, I meant that sort of sarcastically. I'm going to start running through some of the rates when they don't have Ricky Rubio, Darius Garland, or Colin Sexton on the floor, which I can't imagine is one, a lot of minutes, or two, a very good thing for Cleveland in general, because Garland sort of makes the entire ship move. But I believe you guys, I think somebody said there was a lineup out, or you said that Rondo is not starting, correct?
Chetty Osmond.
I might have missed it.
Chetty Osmond is starting. So, I mean, I just assumed Rondo was going to start, and whatever. We don't need to relitigate whether Rondo is good or not from a real life standpoint for the millionth time or not. But yet, Chetty Osmond is starting. I still think that Rajon Rondo is somebody with upside for DFS today, but it's a really odd looking starting lineup.
So, Chetty, Okoro, Wade, Mobley, Allen.
It is. Let me just pull it up. So I don't.
Somehow it like went right past me when we were getting started, and I never saw it. So
yeah. So it's the full starting lineup hasn't been announced. Just that Chetty is going to start in place of Garland.
Okay, so then we would assume it's Okoro, Wade, Mobley, Allen.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I guess Chetty does the bulk of the ball handling.
Yeah, nothing will go wrong there. I mean, that offense is going to grind to a halt. They're not going to be able to do that. I don't like Rondo, but at the very least, he's going to functionally move the offense. So let's start here. What is your expectation on minutes for Chetty Osmond now?
Considering they're starting him, I think he probably plays a little at like 30 to 32 minutes.
Okay, we're on the same page there. I think the biggest question mark here is how many minutes do we expect Rondo to play? I assume he's playing every minute that Chetty is not on the floor. I don't know unless it's a different backup point guard.
No, so and they could also share the court, and I assume they're going to.
Yeah.
At a minimum, if we say Chetty plays 30 minutes, then we're looking at a minimum of 18 for Rondo. Maybe they overlap for 6 to 8 minutes. So I think 24 minutes is a reasonable expectation for Rondo, especially because if you give Rondo like 28 minutes, you're going to get to a ton of him. And I just don't really want to. I think he's a very good play, particularly on DraftKings at his salary. But I'm not confident enough in his minutes to say, like, I want to get to like 80% Rondo or something crazy like that. So I feel more comfortable giving him 24.
Schroeder available to play today. So there's one thing we don't have to deal with, which is incredibly nice. Let's then think about where the rest of these minutes go for Cleveland. We know that we're going to get 30 plus ish out of Isaac Okoro. We're going to get 36 out of Mobley. We're going to get 34 plus out of Jared Allen. Is anybody else playing enough minutes to matter? Is it Dean Wade? Is it Lamar Stevens? Do they dust off, I don't know, Brandon Goodwin or Pangos or Windler? Who else benefits from the fact that 36 minutes of Darius Garland aren't coming out there today?
Kind of think. I mean, so if they're committed to playing Chetty Osmond at point guard, it indicates to me bigger lineups, maybe a couple more minutes for Kevin Love. I know we haven't seen Love play big minutes as of late, but he continues to crush in limited minutes. Yeah. And I want to get to him in my player pool just because if we get those 27, 28, 30 minutes at Kevin Love, he's going to crush because he's been doing it in way less minutes than that lately.
I can't give him more time. I have him at 22 minutes right now, and I already don't really feel all that great about it. Conceivably, we can get Mobley, Allen, and Love just splitting 96 minutes at the 4 and the 5. That could be a way that this happens. Obviously, Dean Wade playing all of his minutes at the 3, probably not the best outcome for Cleveland. But in theory, there are 96 minutes to go around for the bigs. I'm just going to go with the assumption that Love isn't really going to get all that much more. Could be wrong. Certainly scares me. Don't trust this Cleveland team right now because they're short on actual NBA player bodies.
Yeah, but they last game they didn't beat the Pistons, but other than that, some recent games they beat the Bucks by 16, and that was the game. So last game, Love only plays 19 minutes. The games before that, he did play 27 and 24. I think 22 might be a little bit light on his minutes.
I mean, he doesn't close. He just simply doesn't close. And if you're not going to start and you're not going to close, you can only play so many minutes.
No, that's true. But
nice. KPJ in. Thank God. One piece of news breaking the correct way for me today.
And who wanted to deal with Houston Valley going up against the Warriors anyway?
Well, I mean, I really like KPJ today. So that's actually the real problem in all of this.
That is problematic.
I am running the rates right now with Rubio off, Sexton off, and Garland off. Kevin Love has played the most minutes of anyone on the Cleveland Cavaliers this season.
And what kind of usage and points per minute production are we looking at?
He has played with a 29% usage rate. I don't get the sense that I need to look up assists and rebounds after that. It's probably going to be pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I don't think he stopped getting assists and rebounds is probably the easier way to do it. I don't have points per minute in front of me for that particular.
I'm about to dampen your enthusiasm on Kevin Porter Jr. He is playing today, but maybe on a minutes limit. Maybe, according to Coach Silas.
Cool. Oh, well, if he may be on a minutes limit, I may be dating Scarlett Johansson on the side on me.
Good for you.
Without Colin Jost knowing. I don't know what I do with that kind of information. I mean, if he starts, I think I'm just going to say he plays 30 minutes. I'm going to take like 2 minutes off of him or something like that. It will honestly save me from myself.
Yes, most likely.
Yeah, so that's cool. What do you let's put a bow on Cleveland. What do you like now?
I love Chetty. It's really hard to not like Chetty. You and I have had some success on Chetty slates when we've done shows together, and he has upside. I'm curious to see what his ownership ends up being.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard for me to not be interested in a fairly cheap Chetty Osmond who's probably playing a bunch of minutes now.
I've bumped Love up to 24 minutes. That's the highest that I can go without hating my life and hating myself. Start looking at rates here. Kevin Love, 29% usage rate in 238 minutes with all three of those guys off of the floor. That is a pretty staggering amount of usage. I mean, not that he doesn't have a ton of it to begin with, but that's a lot of Kevin Love. 5.5% assists per possession, 13.5 rebounding rate, which means Kevin Love is at a crisp, I don't know, 20-ish% assist rate. Normal Kevin Love stuff, little bit of extra usage. I might get to a little bit of him. He won't be the priority. Chetty, though, 22.5% usage rate in those scenarios. We don't really see any sort of assist rate bump, which is definitely what you want to see out of your starting point guard. Don't really know how to evaluate something like that. Evan Mobley with a really big usage bump here, 230 minutes, 25% usage with all three of those guys off the floor. So it looks like he starts to do a little bit more Evan Mobley stuff. The Pelicans aren't the worst team in the world to do that against.
No, and we also got Pelicans news just now. Josh Hart available to play. Jonas Valanciunas available to play.
Good. That broke the correct way, buddy. That broke the correct way. I didn't want it a different direction. How do you feel about the Pelican side of this game then?
Yeah, so on the Pelican side of the game, I think Valanciunas is certain. I'm curious to see if Valanciunas is going to have any kind of restrictions or anything like that. But if he doesn't, I think Valanciunas is pretty good looking as a contrarian center option, more so on DK than FanDuel. FanDuel were so loaded at the center position, particularly with Andre Drummond. It's hard for me to really get away from him, but at least on DK where you play multiple centers, Valanciunas is probably going to be somebody that I get to, and I assume he's going to be contrarian as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to get to a bit of him. Rondo, by the way, has played 80 minutes in this scenario, 18% usage rate. So I'm guessing he's basically just himself. I gave him 24 minutes. We'll see where we end up. How many super chats have I missed so far? That's a good question. I only see one. That's two. Obviously, that one has no site given, so there's really not much we can do with that. But
full starting lineup for the Cavs, like you'd said before. Chetty Osmond, Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. Godspeed.
Chad Oswald wants to know Mobley or Tobias Harris. We have no idea which site that would be. So
let me see. So I currently have.
That would be Harris for me, by the way.
That is very close for me. I have Harris projected a 1/10 of a fantasy point more. Let's see if there's a big ownership gap.
I've got it by about 4 right now.
I gave Mobley a pretty significant bump when Garland was ruled out. So let's see.
I'd like to think I did too, but I also gave that significant bump to Tobias Harris when Joel Embiid got ruled out.
Fair enough.
Tobias
Mobley
Harris hitting a bit of a rookie wall, by the way. 0.92 FanDuel points per minute over the last 30 days.
Yeah. Well, Tobias Harris is 3x the ownership of Evan Mobley as of now on DK. On FanDuel, it is much more even. So on DK, I prefer Mobley. On FanDuel, I prefer Harris.
Okay. And then the other question was basically where'd it go? Goody says, okay, guys, who the hell do we actually want to pay up for? Curry in a blowout? I mean, it's not the worst place in the world to go. Yeah, on FanDuel, it's a different discussion too.
Yeah. So once again, which side are we talking about? Because
here's some news for you. For what it's worth, Trae Young, listed as questionable on the injury report, has not taken the court for his normal warm-up.
I kind of like Trae Young as a contrarian option. I guess
I like him in general. If he plays clearly, which
I guess I just take him out of my player pool now.
Yeah.
Seems to me like he's not playing.
Uzi wants to know Nurkic or Joe Val in a FanDuel high stakes single entry. My answer would be Drummond.
Oh, well, but he said FanDuel.
Yeah.
Then Drummond, yes, because you can only play one center on FanDuel. Drummond is the best play on the slate by a really wide margin. I know we haven't talked about him to this point because there's been other stuff that's kind of been pressing with Garland being ruled out and Fox being ruled out. Drummond is still the best play on the slate. Like, don't let all these other
starting lineup for the Pelicans: Graham, Hart, Jones, Hayes, Valanciunas.
You want to know what's funny?
No.
Remember somebody had tweeted at us yesterday and said, how come when Valanciunas was in, I don't see Hernan Gomez projected for very many minutes? And I responded to him because the Pelicans are weird, right? Valanciunas is out and they say Hernan Gomez is the guy. Valanciunas is in, Hernan Gomez kind of falls out of the rotation. They just play Jackson Hayes. This starting lineup is totally bizarre though.
So do you think that Willie Hernan Gomez is the straight backup now to Joe Val?
I would assume so.
And then I don't think they can play that many minutes with Jackson Hayes alongside of Joe Val, unless Joe Val is really just going to let that shit sail from three like he's sort of been doing. I mean, how many minutes can we give Jackson Hayes? 20 to 22?
So also, this is a matchup game. Cleveland plays a really big front court. It's Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, Kevin Love coming off the bench. So I think they're just matching up with what Cleveland does. And I think
slightly different talent levels in these guys.
Yeah, different talent levels. But Valanciunas is really good.
Yeah, he doesn't count.
Yeah, it's Jackson Hayes probably gets Kevin Love minutes, like 22 to 24.
Yeah, okay. We're on the same page then. Yikes, man. Yikes. Didn't see that one coming. Didn't see that one coming at all.
How many minutes has Herb Jones played at small forward this year?
I mean, they call him a center, and he hasn't played a single minute at center in the entire year. So I don't really know what position we want to call Herb Jones. I think he's like oddly short too. Young has now taken the court.
Oh, okay. I was just updating to take him out. I'm just going to put that on hold.
I think that I have everything that we've just talked about updated now. Too many different things are happening. Look, it's 6:28 already. I guess hit the like button if you can. NBA ownership projections and NHL ownership projections are free. And we're going straight into it, Jordan. We have partnered with Yahoo Fantasy this season. You can get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, you need to be new to Yahoo. Sign up for an account using the link either awesemo.com/Yahoo-promo or click that link in the description of this video. Deposit and play. Yahoo will give us your name. We will then reach out to you with a coupon code. You can get a free $10 of site credit by doing it like this too. They've got the $50,000 NBA baller. I'm sure their Super Bowl contest for the NFL will be the best contests in the industry. They generally are when it comes to football. We've got tools and projections on awesemo.com that will help you make all of those lineups. So make sure you're going to that link, awesemo.com/Yahoo-promo. Figured I needed to get that out of the way, considering we just did 29 minutes of the show. And well, technically we didn't do 29, but it was going to be 7:00 before we even had a chance to talk about anything else.
Yep. And we're probably about to get by some other obscure injury news. So just kind of backtrack on the Trae Young thing. I assume he's playing now.
Yeah, same. I was assuming he was playing until basically he either didn't, or in this case, like if that news was like, oh, he never came out of the locker room.
Yeah.
All right. I think I'm caught up. which allows me to run a crunch. So we'll take a brief second to breathe for right now. Greg, who's your favorite play on the slate that isn't Andre Drummond? I assume we're in agreement that it's Andre Drummond.
Yeah, so Andre Drummond, number 2, and I'm rerunning lineups right now. It's going to depend on the site.
Yeah,
but I think Isaiah Jackson.
Okay. Where is Isaiah? So I'm guessing we're similar in that it's Giddey on FanDuel or potentially Giddey on FanDuel.
Yeah. So Giddey is ridiculous price, 5,700 on FanDuel. I really like him on DK as well, but the FanDuel price is really, really egregious. Actually, you know what? On FanDuel, I like Chetty now more than Giddey. I like both of them a lot, but Chetty at 3,700 is pretty hard to avoid.
Where in the world is Chetty in my crunch? I don't even know what position he is.
He's
small forward, power forward. Okay, I am not getting all that much Chetty.
Really? Small forward, power forward, 3,700 on FanDuel. I am
7%. I think he came out of that crunch. Let me look at it just to make sure that I didn't accidentally type. So I gave him 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I got him at 0.84 FanDuel points per minute, 25 fantasy points on FanDuel.
You said you gave him 30?
Yeah.
I ended up giving him 32.
Okay. I don't know if he closes.
So you think Rondo closes then? It's either Rondo or
that wouldn't
Chetty,
surprise
right?
me. That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they have much of a choice to go to anybody other than Rondo or Chetty.
Yeah, let's see. What have Chetty's minutes been in? So remember in the past, I want to see if it's been the same this year. We saw Chetty particularly last year. He would come off the bench and play 18 minutes, and every start he'd play like 40 minutes, and he just had these crazy splits starting versus coming off the bench. So I want to see if we've had. Well, he hasn't started this year, so that makes this difficult.
Dude, this is a day.
He played so many. He played so many minutes in starts last year.
I actually need to rerun whatever I just said. Maybe I get more of him if I actually do this the way that I wanted to do it. I did get 2 super chats, by the way, that I want to touch on. 3 actually. It says CS says a lot less chaos with flamboyant Eric. Thanks, Josh. Quite welcome. Uzi said, Nurkic or Joe Val high stakes. We already answered that one, Jordan, but thanks for providing that for me. And then Goody said, okay, Jordan, you're giving me super chats. We already answered, man. The most recent one you just gave me, I think we answered 10 minutes ago.
Oh my God, he's doing more important things.
Fantastic job multitasking. I can't imagine how you ruined the video too.
Starting lineup for the Pacers.
I do appreciate you though.
Starting lineup for the Pacers: LeVert, Duarte, Holiday, Craig, Jackson.
Okay, that is what I expected it to be. So that feels pretty good, I guess. Yeah, I am not getting to all that much Chetty today. At least not in this crunch. Now, if his ownership stays low, it's possible that he sorts higher than he is right now. But does not appear I'm going to be getting there. I think there's just too much value in other spots that I've already sort of cornered the market on my value. If that makes any sense.
That's kind of how I feel about Rondo on DK. Like I have him projected really well relative to his price, and he's just not popping up all that frequently for me because there's so much value at other positions. Like we already have Drummond, we already have Isaiah Jackson, and it's hard for me to find a spot to play Rondo as much as I really do like him on a points per dollar basis. Just taking all of my Rajon Rondo real life biases out of it, I think he's an excellent points per dollar value play today. I'm still struggling to get to him at a good clip.
Yeah, for me, it's like by the time I get a lot of Giddey, by the time I get a lot of Andre Drummond, by the time I get a lot of Isaiah Jackson at power forward, which is so important on FanDuel, I think I'm just running out of guys that I need to pay down for. At some point in time, I just need to have more salary in my lineups. Yeah. We'll see if I end up getting to Chetty. Like I certainly like him on in the grand scheme of things. He makes a ton of sense to me and should be in my lineups, but I think he might just get full on pinched out of here. We're about to find out. I'm running my actual crunch right now with my fingers crossed that nothing happens by the time it is done. If you're asking me if I'm confident about that, my answer would be precisely no.
Yeah, we're most likely going to get stuff.
All right. So did we ever even finish answering those who's your favorite play today questions?
No, I don't
Great.
think so. Anyway, I don't remember. Things happen so quick right now.
Run it back because it could be 10 different people now.
Yeah. So I'll go. I'm still running lineups on FanDuel, so I'll see what I have on DK. For me, still Drummond, Isaiah Jackson, Chetty Osmond. Even at a higher price point, I love getting to Giddey on DK as well. 7,300, still a playable price point for me with Josh Giddey. Tyrese Maxey, another one that's pretty unavoidable for me. We're taking Embiid off the court, and we've seen when the Sixers are shorthanded, they don't mind playing Maxey ridiculous amounts of minutes. We've seen him play upwards of 43 minutes in regulation games this year. When
Trae Young is out.
So what's that?
Trae Young is out.
Okay, well, there we go. Now let's go to
ridiculous,
let's go to
man.
that
What a
stupid
ridiculous day.
Yeah.
All righty.
All right.
Trae Young out. So that's a DeLon Wright start, right?
I don't know because remember the time that DeLon Wright started, everybody was out for them.
I mean, it's him or Lou Will, right? It seems to be got to be a DeLon Wright. They don't have another point guard.
They could play Bogdanovich at point guard.
I mean, they could. Look,
He's a lot better than those guys.
I mean,
I'm better than those guys.
I'm a big DeLon Wright guy, but that's neither here nor there. Oh, man. No, this has to be DeLon Wright. Has to.
All right.
I think DeLon Wright starts. I assume he doesn't close, and then that's when you're getting Bogdanovich.
I'm going to look up some other games where we've had Trae Young out. All right. What was the situation the last time he was out? Well, the last time he was out, Bogdanovich, Collins, and Hunter were out as well. That's not going to tell us anything.
Oh, it's super helpful.
The time before that, he was out. It was Hunter, Herrera, Okongwu, Gallinari were out.
I mean, I think Atlanta was just a war zone for a while.
Yeah.
Trae Young has not played 4 games, regardless of who's in or out. DeLon Wright has played more minutes than anyone else on the Hawks in games that Trae Young has not played. 146 in that time.
Yeah, so I guess it's just I guess we could assume it's going to be DeLon Wright. If it is Bogdanovich that starts a point guard, I wouldn't be surprised by that.
I don't want to say that I'd be surprised by it, but because that wouldn't really be the right way to say it, but I expect this to be DeLon Wright. Now, I'm only giving him probably 26 minutes. I mean, this is a team that's basically whoever starts generally doesn't close. The closing lineup is the bench guys. Like Herter's playing 26 minutes and Bogdanovich is closing in place of Herter. They're all over the map here. Capela starts but doesn't close. So I don't exactly trust them to begin with. Is Lou Will the backup here? Does Lou Will play 20 minutes behind DeLon Wright or 18 minutes behind DeLon Wright?
Maybe like 16. But once again, I think Bogdanovich also sees a bump in playing time now.
Can he? I believe they were just talking about him being still limited. I mean, they got enough guys that could sort of patch this together if Trae Young's shoulder is slightly sore.
So last 3 games, he played 23 minutes, 28, and 27. Bogdanovich. I think you get to 30 to 32 at an upside.
I don't think I can project him for more than 30, but 30 will likely be enough to make him even more interesting now. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw Herter then get 30. That can pretty much lock down most of the 1, 2, and to a lesser extent, the 3.
Herter's just based on salary. Herter's definitely the best play of the group, though. I mean, DeLon Wright, sorry.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I'm grabbing rates right now of just the games where Trae Young and Cam Reddish off. I don't really know if I could dip into this any further.
How funny is it that the Knicks traded draft capital for Cam Reddish, and Cam Reddish wanted to be traded so he could play a bigger role, and now he plays a smaller role with the Knicks than he played with the Hawks? That whole thing makes no sense.
I assume they just made that trade this seems like a great deal, but nobody ever asked Tibbs if that was cool with him. And he's like, I'm not playing that guy. He fucking sucks. I mean, Tibbs hates people that don't try hard on defense. So while he may have the profile of a long athletic person, he is also not the brightest bulb when it comes to defensive rotations.
No, and he takes a lot of bad and inefficient shots.
He does. Bogdanovich, by the way, with Trae Young off and Cam Reddish off this season in just 100 minutes, 27% usage rate. DeLon Wright, though, in the 271 minutes without him, 12.8% usage rate. So no real bump there. A little bit of a bump to his assist rate. But what we're really worried about here are DeLon Wright's minutes, and he should get enough to be an okay value play. I don't really know how much this is going to open up for the Hawks. Like John Collins obviously looks better than he did.
Yeah,
I don't think he suddenly looks
the other thing.
Like I don't think anybody looks great now.
The other thing that throws a wrench into the front court minutes here for the Hawks is that Okongwu's played really well enough that they have to keep him in the rotation. And I don't even know that Clint Capela is that much better than Okongwu, considering how much Capela's regressed this year and how well Okongwu is playing. So Okongwu has earned himself some minutes to the point where he's splitting center minutes with Clint Capela. And then that means John Collins doesn't get his few minutes that he was running at center before. So we're kind of looking at capped upside for guys like Collins and Capela and Okongwu just because the minutes haven't really been there.
Yeah, that's the real problem for them right now. I mean, like, it's a good problem to have, but it's a problem for us from a DFS rotational standpoint. All right, we got like 100 super chats in the past couple minutes, so I'll give you this one. Hey, fellas, Looney or Covington on FanDuel? We're going to get a lot of questions of like guys whose names we shouldn't even say today.
So there's a lot of really, really good, like exceptional value plays. Those guys are not even close to being those players. Yeah. You just play Isaiah Jackson in that same price range.
I mean, yeah, like I don't have a choice between the two of them. It's probably Covington because Covington isn't a center, but like I like Covington, but he's probably like my 25th favorite guy on the slate today. So it's the answer for me is Covington, although I don't actually like have an answer. Okay, stop showing Tuesday news when all hell is breaking loose. That's not helping anybody. Sites, us, every other site that posts news. You're all doing it wrong if you're posting shit for tomorrow. Just wait until 7:00 at the very least. It is my biggest pet peeve.
Yeah, DeAndre, there was a quick double take for me. It was like, oh, DeAndre Ayton's out. Am I playing JaVale McGee today? Oh, no, I'm not. He's not on the slate.
Yeah, I did the same thing. All right, super chat number 2. FanDuel GPP, Curry and Lamb or Van Vliet and DeAndre Hunter. This one's easy for me.
Let me try to find these. All right. Curry and Lamb or Van Vliet. Well, that's going to be Van Vliet and DeAndre Hunter for me now.
Yeah, same. We are on the same page there.
I don't know when he asked that question, but it probably was a different answer when he asked it.
It certainly could have been, but at least now he gets the real answer. And then I've got one more that Jordan has given me here. How much do y'all project Collins for on FanDuel?
It's hard for me to give him a lot of minutes.
I think I have him at 30. I gave him 34.2 fantasy points. We are getting dangerously close to it's time to run a crunch, and you're not going to have a lot of time to do anything with said crunch. So that's always a fun time.
Yeah. So here are the minutes for John Collins in the last few games: 26, 27, 25. I don't know that Trae Young being out means that we could give him more minutes. The issue here, like I said before, Okongwu has earned minutes in the front court. Those come from Clint Capela and John Collins. So I can't prioritize John Collins today.
I think he looks a little bit better because if you're losing Trae Young, you want somehow more offense on the floor. And at the very least, that is what he's going to bring. I wouldn't be surprised if Okongwu played like 2 minutes less to facilitate John Collins playing 2 minutes more. I got nothing to back that up, and it's not a change that I'm making. Like, I didn't touch his minutes in this particular instance, but I could see them wanting to go to him more just because they don't have a choice from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah, and then I'll say I don't think I'm going to get to Collins really at all on FanDuel. But now I'm looking at him. DK at 6,500. That's a playable price point. It's FanDuel 7,400 less so.
All right, I am starting my crunch. Let's cross our fingers that it gets to a reasonable amount before the next garbage pops up. I don't know. Do you have anything that you actually just want to say on this show right now?
Yeah. So I'm updating lineups, and I'm running stuff for the Hawks update right now. And I do find a lot of these players look way different on DK than they do on FanDuel. John Collins being one of them, 7,400 on FanDuel, 6,500 on DK. Bogdanovich, who we just talked about, is 6,000 on FanDuel, but 4,700 on DK. So Bogdanovich, to me, the 6K price tag is pretty difficult to get to, not 4,700. So the Hawks, depending what set you're playing on, massively different outlook in terms of their value.
It's good that you pointed that out. We have 3,800 people in here right now for this just absolute ridiculous news fest. 3,800 people, only 830 likes. Guys, if you're here, if you're part of the 3,000 people that haven't hit the like button yet, one, what more can we do for you guys to do it? Let us know in chat. But two, just hit it, man. We should be well over 1,000 likes right now. This is a fantastic show. CS says, DK question, Seth Curry or Duncan Robinson, both or none?
Seth Curry.
Yeah, it's Seth Curry. It's closer to none than anything else, though, I would say.
Let's see.
Like, I don't have a problem going to Seth Curry, but like, he's clearly not a part of these are the guys that are obviously really good plays today.
Yeah, I wouldn't say really good, but he's in my player pool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it's Seth Curry for me.
I would say Seth Curry is my answer, followed by neither.
Definitely not Duncan Robinson, though.
1,000 likes, man.
There we go. That was quick. Good job.
Yeah. My concurrent viewers now says 1. I think there's too many digits in the concurrent viewers and likes column. So that's always fun. Good stuff. Good stuff across the board. All right. Crunch is coming out pretty nicely. I haven't looked at ownership in a while, but I also don't care to, because I'm just going to throw that into the sheet and hope for the best when it pops up. Guys showing up. I mean, here's my top 10 right now coming out of my sim. This is for FanDuel. Figure it'll help people. I guess they'll want to hear this. So it's a 2-horse race at the top between Giddey and Maxey for me. And that's just because Andre Drummond only has one position and it's center. He's really close to those guys, but you can just naturally play more of Giddey and Maxey because they can be rostered in additional places, or even just simply point guard through power forward takes 2 instead of 1. So Giddey, Maxey, Drummond, then a step down to Steph Curry and Fred VanVleet, LeVert, Tobias Harris, Pascal Siakam, Tyrese Halliburton, and Isaiah Jackson.
Yep. I don't disagree with any of those names. Those are all guys who I'm updating my DK lineups now. And a lot of the value plays on DK also apply to FanDuel. The only team that's really different for me is, like I said before, the Atlanta Hawks. A lot of those guys to me, not all that appealing on FanDuel, but are more so on DK. Not in terms of being super high priority plays, but guys that I'm getting to like 5 to 10%.
3 more super chats. Sean Raza says, is Max Strus a play for FanDuel GPPs? Absolutely. Now that Butler is out, like, there's a minutes upside and a scoring upside for him. Do you have any different take there on Strus?
I was getting to him a lot before we started the show, still getting to some of him, but not as much as I was. There's better value plays at this point. Yeah. But once again, somebody who is if you have him in a single entry lineup, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Same. Aurora Ware wants to know, Steph and Wiggins together in a large field FanDuel contest. I have no issue with it.
Yep. I don't have an issue with that either. It's an easy matchup against the Houston Rockets. And I understand some people might say, like, oh, there's blowout risk. The Warriors have kind of sucked recently without Draymond Green. And Steph Curry is just really, really cheap, particularly on FanDuel. And Wiggins, kind of hard to nail down. Apparently one of the 5 best players in the Western Conference this year. But that aside, 6,000 price tag. And that's certainly something that's upside. He scored some like 40 and 53 fantasy points his last 2 games.
Jake Lindland says, Andrew Wiggins and Dort. I'm not going to lie. I forgot Dort was on the slate, and he was like one of the best plays of the day when I woke up this morning. Or Halliburton and Osmond.
That is Halliburton and Osmond for me.
I agree. Cheyenne DeWald says RJ Barrett or Hero. Also, Greg won me 10K one time. That's got to be Hero, right?
Yeah, Hero and the other one. Who's the other? I forget the other name he had in there.
Hero Barrett.
Oh, that's definitely Hero for me.
And then William Bethel says Morant and Fred VanVleet in a single entry at point guard. Yes. I mean, I don't know what would have to happen for that to be a no.
Morant and Fred VanVleet. Yeah, I prefer Fred VanVleet. I don't know if it's a which one do we prefer? Just throwing out your offspring, both of them. No issue with either of them.
There is basically never a time where the answer to that question is no. Like it's Ja Morant, it's Fred VanVleet. Like when it comes to good players, yes, you could always play them both together.
Yeah, and then one other thing that I'll point out is, well, at least in theory, there's a pretty big downgrade to the Sixers defense going from Embiid to Drummond. But Embiid's kind of been miserable on defense this year, I think probably because he's running like a 44% usage rate on offense and is just dead by the time he gets back to defense. But still, Drummond's fairly miserable on defense, and I think we have to consider that a defensive downgrade.
It's likely that Favor starts. I don't get the sense that we give a shit about that. Nope. I Am God TV says favorite pick on Prize Picks. Do you have a favorite pick on Prize Picks?
Answer the next super chat and I'll pull this up while we do that.
Randall or Siakam on DraftKings. I assume my answer is Siakam because he'll play 40 minutes today, but just going to look it up. I have Siakam by 1.5 points.
All right. So I'm pulling up our projections right now.
9.5 minutes to go before lock, by the way.
Andre Drummond over 11.5 rebounds.
Feels
for
safe.
the Prize Picks question.
That's good. I like it. We got an ownership update 7 minutes ago, if that's interesting to you.
Yes, I'm going to peek that. And also, ownership projections are free today. So if you guys want to check those out and see how many people are playing Andre Drummond, not enough people are playing on 60%. It seems silly for a slate of this size. 60% ownership is not enough for Drummond on DK.
Yeah, if I were on DraftKings, I assume I'd have like 90 to 100.
Yeah, he's a lock for me. I have him
on FanDuel. It's different, but he's still clearly the best option. 2 more super chats coming in. Big time super chat day, and we're up to 1,100 likes. FanDuel GPP: Tobias and Bogdanovich or Siakam and Herrera? That's a good question.
Tobias and Bogdanovich or Siakam and Herrera. So this is hard because Bogdanovich, I find the 6K price tag to be about appropriate on FanDuel, where he's much more appealing as DK at 4,700. But I like Tobias Harris more than I like Siakam or Herrera. I'll go with the Siakam Herrera combo.
Okay. Curry and Kevin Love or LeVert and Tobias Harris on a FanDuel single entry. This one's easy to me.
LeVert and Tobias Harris.
Agreed. LeVert and Tobias Harris can both play 36 minutes today and have massive days. There's a decent chance that Kevin Love plays 20 minutes. I mean, that's a floor, but like it's not an outlandish floor in any way. 3,600 people, 1,120 likes. I think we can get to like 12, 1,300. I have a pretty good crunch going. I'm trying to wait it out for like 1 more minute. I'm very, very nervous that the 7:30 news is going to start coming out at the moment that needs to happen. But at the very least, I am just jamming in whatever I got and I'll fix it after the fact. Thoughts on Tyler Hero for a GPP tonight with no Butler? He looks good. He's just like the 15th best guy on FanDuel for me.
Yeah. So let's see. Tyler Hero. So we'll look at the other shooting guard eligible players. These are the guys I prefer to Tyler Hero. Tyrese Maxey, Josh Giddey, Tyrese Halliburton, Karis LeVert, Seth Curry. Then it's Tyler Hero for me.
Okay. John Good. DK pick 2. So it's 3 2v2s. Steph and Torrey Craig, Morant and Duarte, Wiggins and Jaylen Brown.
I hate to do this with them 7 minutes to go into lock, but I do not really like any of those combinations a ton for DK. If
Morant Duarte would be my first in that group.
Yeah, because I don't really like Jaylen Brown or Wiggins on DK.
Yeah.
Steph Curry's so priced up on DK. The reason that we're all like Steph on FanDuel is because he's 9,300. When do we get to roster Steph at that kind of price? And then I prefer Duarte to Craig. So yeah, Morant Duarte.
Ricky Asmo Jr. says Mo Harkless in the Express Contest FanDuel. Let's get it. No.
Yeah, let me. Why are we playing Mo Harkless today?
I don't know if I'd play him in Showdown.
I mean, I know that you're playing, but I don't even know which Express slate that is.
I have no clue.
So Harkless is starting at that. That's something in his favor.
He is starting. That is a statement. That is true.
Other than that, I mean, he started a bunch of games this year. He is averaging. All right, so catch this. 14 starts for Mo Harkless this year. 21 and a half minutes, 11.3 fantasy points.
Yeah, I mean, he's really not good
Nope.
fantasy sports.
He used to be good, and then his knee stopped working, and then he became less good.
Yeah. I mean, Portland would have liked him to be good. Well, yeah. I'm refreshing my crunch. I have no idea what I'm playing yet, and it's 6:55. How are you feeling about your lineups right now?
My lineups are updated, and I can't help but feel I've overlooked something. I just think there's something I forgot to update for. There's going to be some lineup because I was like, oh, look, I have a bunch of exposure to this guy for reasons unknown to me.
Yep, I'm fully expecting that. I'm clicking refresh now with no idea what's going to actually show up.
Here are the guys who I would classify.
Wow. How do we have Jonathan Kuminga projected for 1.5% ownership? That just can't be the case, right?
The old cum bucket? Let's see. I don't think I'm getting exposure to him today.
I have a ton right now.
How many minutes?
Dialing it back. 27.
Yeah, that's an aggressive amount of minutes.
I mean, Bielitsa out, Otto Porter out, Andre Iguodala out. Somebody's got to play them.
Moody's starting.
Wow, we still have. When did we get that?
Was that not known information?
To me, no.
Oh well, and yeah. So the Warriors starting lineup today is Curry, Moody, Clay, Wiggins, Looney.
Okay, I missed that at some point in time, so I'm going to go ahead and dial back that Kuminga.
Yeah, okay, so that might be part of the reason.
I don't also care. Yeah. And now I don't care at all about Moody. I'm happy to still get to Kuminga, but
I do not care about Moody. I was just I was looking at the 27 minutes for Kuminga and thinking, well, that's aggressive.
That we're on the same page there. 1.9% owned Kevin Porter. I didn't take his minutes down, so that's something I need to do after the fact. Whoops, once again. But again, like too many moving parts.
Yeah. Once again, one of those things where it's, but by the way, of all the people for you to bring up, you just randomly point out Kuminga. And
well, when I sorted it, I had like 55% Kuminga because he was 2% owned and like his leverage was pushing him up. So I knew something was going on that was not advantageous for me.
Yeah. Moody starting, which I don't have exposure to Moody today, but it's still a Warriors team where there's a lot of guys that could potentially pick up those minutes. Moody obviously being one of them because he's starting. Not that I think he's going to go out and play 26 minutes or anything like that, but he's probably going to play over 20. Gary Payton's going to play minutes. My mortal enemy, Juan Toscano-Anderson, he's going to play minutes. Damian Lee's going to play minutes. It's just a lot of guys that I probably think are going to play around 20-ish.
All right. I think that whatever the hell I have right now, I have to move forward with. Looks like I am light on Halliburton, Curry, Bam, Wiggins, other Curry, Tatum, Chetty, Mobley, Barnes, and Randall. Okay. Sure thing.
So as we're approaching lock, the guys that I was about to say, the guys that I would classify as the core plays for me on DK today: Drummond, Chetty, Maxey, Isaiah Jackson, Tobias Harris, Giddey, Mobley, and Bam Adebayo.
I heard none of that, but I will hear it. I promise in whenever this uploaded CSV goes in.
Yeah, totally fine. I was just giving the people some information while you're doing that. Also, my most rostered players going position by position over on FanDuel: Tyrese Maxey, Steph Curry, Tyrese Halliburton, Josh Giddey and LeVert at small forward. Some of these guys going to be overlap position by position. Then Tobias Harris, Chetty Osmond, Isaiah Jackson, Evan Mobley, Bam Adebayo, and Andre Drummond at center.
All righty. Most exposed guys for me on FanDuel: Josh Giddey, Fred VanVleet, Tyrese Maxey, Karis LeVert, Isaiah Jackson, Tobias Harris. That is my very much core 7. Drummond is next up at that point. I like the guys that I'm getting a lot of, but I am very light on a couple guys. Not that I'm like super mad about it, but if I had a couple more minutes, I would probably make a few tweaks.
Who did you? Because I have kind of a smattering of guys I paid up for. There's cheaper guys that I like a whole bunch. Who are you finding you paid up for the most looking at your lineups?
Let me take a look. Because we're at basically 7:00 right now. Any worry that you have about getting your lineups in, you now have 30 more minutes to do the exact same thing. So thank you guys for being here for the first part of it, but we're not going anywhere. Stay right here on this stream. We're here for another half hour breaking it down. We'll talk about whatever's going on. We'll talk about Yahoo, awesemo.com/Yahoo-promo. We're just going to do a bunch of stuff for the next half hour. So I got a lot. So I'm half the field on Steph right now. I have 22%. He's 46% in our ownership on FanDuel. I'm over the field on Pascal Siakam at 8,900. I'm relatively light on Ja Morant and Jason Tatum. I don't think that that's all that surprising today, but I've got 36% Pascal Siakam. I have 66% Fred VanVleet at 8,700.
I was going to say, I'm happy to say that Fred VanVleet, if we're considering a pay up option, he's my most rostered pay up option today.
And then Christian Wood and Tobias Harris are the other guys that I have in double digits above 8K. People are going to Jaylen Brown, Julius Randle, Bam Adebayo. Bam Adebayo is my third biggest fade. Thanks, man. Batum for a deep sleeper and a tourney. No,
considering he's coming off the bench, it's reasonable to expect he's playing limited minutes today.
Yeah. No, it's going to be, I think today's a pretty safe day to say that it's going to be real hard to roster anybody frequently that isn't starting.
Yeah. And even that was something that I talked about before when I was running my lineups, is I was kind of surprised I wasn't getting to very much of Rajon Rondo. I have exposure to him, but I have less than 10%. The reason is because even though I have him projected really well on DK on a points per dollar basis, there's so many cheap guys to get to. And ultimately the opportunity cost of rostering Rondo means like I'm not getting Isaiah Jackson in some lineups or Andre Drummond, or I prefer Chetty Osmond to Rondo. So there's so many cheap guys to play that it is hard to get to any of those guys off the bench who maybe even projected to score 22 or 23 fantasy points at min price. It just doesn't really matter that much on this slate.
Isaiah Jackson ended up 38% owned on FanDuel. Karis LeVert, 39%. Tyrese Maxey, 40%. We're a little light on the Isaiah Jackson one, but I don't mind having him. How is Isaiah Jackson 4,700, but they got Andre Drummond's price wrong?
I mean, it's not like 4,100 for Isaiah Jackson on DK and 47 on FanDuel is the right price for Isaiah Jackson.
He should be 3,500, unquestionably.
Not in this situation, though.
Well, yeah, if we're setting the prices this afternoon, sure. I mean, Isaiah Jackson has played 18 minutes this last time with no Goga. I mean, I guess that's just because Goga didn't play there, but I mean, it's wild.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Either way, I'm happy to have him. I hit a couple other FanDuel ownerships. Tobias Harris, 36%. So I have 2x the field of Tobias Harris today. What else? I wish FanDuel made this easier. Ja Morant, 25% owned on FanDuel today. So people certainly found it easy to get to him. That's 10% higher than what we were projecting. I probably would have had 0 if I gave him 25%. Chetty, 16% owned on FanDuel.
He is same. I just pulled up the $4 on DK. I'm going through some of the players. I'm sorry. Evan Mobley, only 5% owned. I'm pretty happy with that.
Drummond, by the way, 69.8 on FanDuel.
76 on DK. Isaiah Jackson, 56 on DK. Maxey, 21.
How much Drummond did I play? So I played 47%. We had him projected 48. He was 69. I probably would have had less if I knew that he was 69, but I'm happy to have 47 there. I played him in goes nuke.
I played him in all my lineups on DK. I made builds for FanDuel and DK, but I only played single entry stuff on FanDuel and then played more on DK. I knew I was not going to be able to play max entries on FanDuel and DK for this slate especially.
No, it's a wild one today. I don't really see anybody else. Somebody played Goga. Congratulations on being done now. Kevin Love, 4% owned. Reggie Jackson, 4% owned. Darius Garland, 0.6% owned.
Oh, Hawks starting lineup.
Oh, God.
It is Delon Wright, Herrera, Hunter, Collins, Capela.
Okay, good. It's just one of those things where there's like, it's not the kind of thing you want to fix in a late swap scenario. Chris Duarte only 4% owned on FanDuel. I don't like have a commentary on that. I have less than that, but feels like a good GPP play at that ownership.
I know at the end of the day, I'm going to be looking at the top finishing lineups and being like, how come I didn't play more of this guy? I had him projected really well. And then it's, because I have everybody projected really well. What updates are you making now, if any?
No, right now I'm just holding standing pat. I don't really have anything that I majorly want to change. I mostly just need Golden State to bust today, which probably comes from a 50-point Houston win, but I also need Christian Wood to play well. So I don't know really how to get there. I'm just ready for 8 o'clock. If I'm being honest, I want to turn today off at this point. Yeah, I don't know how I missed that Moses Moody one. I mean, I know how I missed it, hosting the show and 200 pieces of news flying by. But I got off most of my Kuminga, so I don't really mind having him.
Yeah, it's a good thing you randomly brought him up right there, or else you would have had a ton of Kuminga for bad reasons. Now watch the game be a blowout, and then Kuminga just scores like 30 fantasy points in the fourth quarter.
That wouldn't be not fun. Well, I mean, I guess it'd be fun, but like, that's a weird sweat. That usually doesn't work out for me in the way that I would like it to. I don't
also, the spread for that game is only, let's see, what did it update to? It was like 10 points the last. It's not like it's one of those games with a 16-point spread.
No, but it is still Houston. They do have a knack for giving up at the tip.
Yeah, still 10-point spread right now. When's last time the Warriors really blew somebody out?
I don't know. I sort of hope it's today on the back of Kuminga in garbage time and not Andrew Wiggins.
All right. So the last they did beat Dallas by 40 points a week
I'm really
ago.
nervous about being under the field on Tyrese Halliburton right now. That's the one I just didn't expect. I'm not entirely sure what caused it. Who am I getting to in that price range instead? I mean, a lot more Tobias Harris for sure.
I have 30% Halliburton.
I've got 10. I probably have way too much Karis LeVert instead of Halliburton right now, which feels fitting for me.
I had, when we were starting the show, I had a lot of Trae Young. And then I had not a lot of Trae Young because I thought he was out. And then he was warming up. And then I was back to a lot of Trae Young. And then he was out. So then I had no Trae Young again. It was a roller coaster.
I have, by the way, only Bogdanovich in double digits coming out of Atlanta.
And that's on FanDuel or DK?
Correct.
Yeah.
FanDuel. Poppy Rack.
It's kind of funny because
Greg, bring the noob up to speed. Tonight was mellow. I'm the noob in this scenario.
Oh boy, could that not be further from the truth? Josh, who, if I'm not mistaken, Josh created this YouTube channel. Is that correct?
That is a very true statement.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true.
What we've identified as whoever left that comment is the real noob on these streets.
Yeah, not a noob.
Josh is OG.
I mean, I've definitely touched more shows than anybody here by a mile, just from a production standpoint early. Whether or not I've done the most content, I don't know. Rosalind does like 27 pieces of golf content back in the day, and that's hard to keep up with, but it's probably pretty close.
I don't know. When you first started that sentence, I was like, well, this is about to go in a lot of different directions. And then it didn't.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. All right. Well, what do we want to talk about? We got 20 minutes now. I think we touched on all of like the relevant ownership. I don't have much else here. So like we're free to take some questions. We're free to do whatever.
So in terms of injury news, also, there's not that much that we're waiting on right now. But I think we could say this. What makes you most nervous about your lineups right now? Is it the Halliburton situation?
That's a good question. Yeah, I wouldn't mind. Like, it's not something that I'm going to fix because I trust what I do and I trust everything that's happened, and I don't have a reason to get more of him. That one worries me the most, just because I understand why he was owned, and I think that he looked pretty good. Poppy, I'm not offended at all. I just think it's hilarious. That's the only thing here. Let's see. If I had to, I might have a bit too much Christian Wood. He's a guy that I get to probably too much. The power forward eligibility on FanDuel is just sometimes tough to get away from. I'd like to have a little bit more Steph, but at the same time, like, that's a really weird game for him. I could see him scoring 40 real points, but also not being all that interesting tonight.
Yeah, he's I think he's hurt. It's not an unreasonable assumption to make. He's been the most consistent shooter in the league for so long. And even if you want to say, oh, is Steph Curry lost the step, perhaps because he's older now and he's a smaller player that generally tends to not age well. But that doesn't mean he should stop making 3-pointers. And he is shooting, last I looked, 30% from 3 for the month of January, which is absurd for Steph Curry, and also 85% from the free throw line, which, once again, that's a really good mark for most players, but we almost never see Steph Curry shooting under 90% from the free throw line. He had that game he missed with a hand injury. I brought this up on a show a few days ago. Steph Curry missed time with a hand injury about a month ago, and he just hasn't shot the ball well since then. And I just think that has to be a lingering issue.
Yeah, I don't think that's helping him at all. I do think Clay being back is just a timing thing. Like, everybody, I think they're trying to get him going, get him reps. They're more worried about April than they are right now. And I think Draymond not being out there is a problem. Draymond Green is going to find Steph better than anybody else on the planet. And, if you're not catching your ball in stride like you normally are, if you're not getting it in a spot that you normally expect to get it, all those little things, I think, just trickle down. Ultimately, I think it's much ado about nothing by the time we get to April.
For sure.
But I wouldn't be surprised if he's still having some lingering hand issues. Maybe not quite like Marcus Smart, who's still got glass in his, but whatever.
So ultimately, the concern with the Warriors is going to be. So I'm actually fairly concerned about Klay Thompson long term at this point, because he's just not played well since coming back. Not just in terms of making shots, but just defensively. If you look at him, he's not moving quite the same as he did, which is not a ridiculous thing to think would happen when we haven't seen him play for 2.5 years.
Drummond hit a 3.
What's that?
Drummond hit a 3.
As we predicted. Here's why we played Andre Drummond.
I didn't mean
today.
to cut you off, but that's just preposterous.
Yeah, we played Andre Drummond today, and that's actually the game I'm going to put on now. We played Andre. Not that he's even going to impact this slate, because everybody played Andre Drummond. But yeah, I played him not because I projected him to get rebounds, but because I assumed that he was going to go 4 of 6 from 3.
Yeah, Seth Curry missed his opening shot. Andre Drummond wet from 3. I hope that was with no time left on the shot clock, long rebound style or something. We just got 2 super chats. Let's touch on those quickly. Mikey B says, favorite 6,500 and below guard for the remaining games on DraftKings.
All right. So
that's what?
Favorite 6,500 below guard for the remaining games on DK. All right. So we have to take out the Memphis, Philadelphia, Indiana.
Tyler Hero.
That's probably going to be my answer, but let me just.
I don't think it's close.
Let's see. That seems right to me, but I'm just gonna do my due diligence here.
Of course.
All right. Yes, it is Hero. Second would be Norman Powell for me.
Yeah, and that, to me, there's a pretty sizable gap. I actually still like Kevin Porter, but Norman Powell's a decent shout as a second option. News God says the real reason why Steph is shooting so bad is because Aisha Curry is cheating on him. You should be thrilled.
If you if you have an open relationship, according to TMZ sources, is it really cheating? It's just what they do?
I mean, he should be stoked. Truly stoked.
The Cavaliers have not scored 2.5 minutes into the first quarter.
I am not surprised by that.
Let's see. Oh, Valanciunas, very ugly looking three that he just shot. Oh, yeah. Chetty running the point. Let's see.
Seems like a good thing for Cleveland.
Yeah.
Go big guys.
Really good 2-man game with Chetty Osmond and Isaac Okoro.
Yeah.
Did you end up playing Jackson Hayes at all? He just had a dunk.
I don't think so. No, not at all. The only guy that I have from New Orleans is Joe Bell. So it was really great to hear that he just chucked up some shit that looked like I shot it.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Valanciunas makes his shots, but they are not pretty looking.
No.
And the Cavaliers cannot buy a bucket. Dean Wade just missed a wide open three. Let's see. Jackson.
I think Isaiah Jackson's having a day so far.
Nice. I approve of that.
So do I. 7 points, 3 boards.
All right. Lock him in optimal.
I wish he was less owned, but I have 61%, so I can only be so mad. But I liked him a lot more when he was 21 instead of 40.
We've seen that. We've seen that a lot recently. The players who are projected pretty well, points per dollar, end up having way more ownership than we typically would expect.
Yeah, today's just a weird one. I mean, there's so much news and so many moving parts there that we're naturally going to we're going to have bigger error bars on a day like today.
Yeah, and also something else as I'm looking through Jackson Hayes. Jackson Hayes center eligible only on DK. That's prohibitive. Yeah. FanDuel, he was just power forward, but also 3,900 as opposed to being, like min price. Whatever.
Oh boy. They took back the Drummond 3 per Ashley in chat. I don't know if that's a real statement, but that's hilarious.
Whether they just say it's too unrealistic.
Oh no, they did. There is a 2 now.
Oh, foot on the line. Whatever.
Yeah, but so now the only 3 that's been made by the Sixers is from Matisse Thybulle, so it's getting even more ridiculous.
And then on the Grizzlies side, Desmond Bane off to a pretty good start. 3 points, a rebound, an assist, and a steal for Desmond Bane in 3 minutes.
Tobias Harris, 7 points, an assist, and 2 blocks. 2 blocks for Tobias Harris in the first 5 minutes is a massive start for a guy that I have 60-something% of.
When's the last time Karis LeVert has played a good game?
I don't know, but I hope it's today. And
not so far, it isn't.
I think your prompt means that it's not today.
Well, we are 5 minutes into the game and he's not scored.
He has 2 assists.
Oh, he does have 2 assists, but he has no other stats.
No, it's the Jackson show.
All Isaiah Jackson.
I just need that game to stay close. We did get another super chat from Justin Alberto. He said, DeLon Wright and Bam or Bogdan and John Collins. That one's pretty easy for me.
Let's see.
I don't know which site.
DeLon Wright and Bam. That's DeLon Wright and Bam for me.
Yeah, I don't need Bogdanovich and Collins if I can get Bam plus something else.
I'm going to be, I have a good amount of exposure to Bam, but I think he's going to be maybe Bam will be less popular than we expect just because those other, there's already so much ownership going to Drummond and Isaiah Jackson. How much ownership could actually go to Bam Adebayo at this point?
I mean, I hope not a lot because I have 3%. So, in a way, I hope it's a lot and he fails, but because I legitimately faded him. I have 3%. We got him projected at 22.5. Like, at this point now, I hope his ownership is massive and I just win that coin flip. Well, it's not even a coin flip. It's way better odds for me than it is for the public.
It was hard for me to get away from him at 7,500 on DK. Yeah. And his numbers, it's a small sample size. His numbers are so ridiculous this year with Butler and Lowry off the court.
Hasn't played that much though, right?
No, it's only because he's been hurt a lot. That.
Yeah.
He's been hurt a lot, but
so I didn't really know what to do with him.
Yeah, over 50 fantasy points per 36 minutes with Bam and Lowry and Butler off the court. Have you read what's the deal with Kyle Lowry?
I don't know. I don't know which pod I was listening to. It was either Dunked On or Low or something like that, and they were just like, haven't heard anything.
He's missed a month now with a personal issue.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm guessing sick, family, COVID. Who knows? I mean, it's the Heat, so like they don't give a shit right now. It's just like, yeah, handle your business, get back for the playoffs. Like they're happy to run in place. Terry Wilson with the super chat.
First bucket for the Cavs. A little over 4 minutes into the game, Chetty made a layup.
I was hoping you were telling me about Karis LeVert. Hero or Wiggins on FanDuel?
Hero.
I actually don't know the answer to that, so I'm going to look just to see what I have. Wiggins 32.7, Hero 37.5. Hero, I agree. Goody, Curry or McCollum late night hammer, DK GPP 20 max late swap. That's Curry. It's not close.
Curry, Curry, yeah, for sure. I mean, also, they're in such different price ranges.
I don't know
play McCollum on this slate anyway, but if you're comparing Curry to McCollum, it's got to be Curry.
Like relative to salary, my answer is probably CJ McCollum. But if my choice is Curry or McCollum, I have Steph Curry projected for 10 more fantasy points.
So the other thing too is I'm not totally familiar off the top of my head which teams are on the late slate. I'll look it up right now. But I assume, like with every other slate today, there's a lot of value on that slate, and there's probably nobody to pay up for other than Curry. It's a two-game slate.
Yeah.
It's a 2-game slate. Steph Curry is 11,000. The next most expensive guy is Christian Wood at 8,600. That's going to make it pretty hard to get away from Curry.
Ibaka 4 of 4, 8 points, 4 boards, and a block to start. I think he's happy to get the start.
I did not play Ibaka today.
No, neither did I. I just assumed he couldn't play enough minutes.
I didn't really play Ibaka much when he was popular a couple of weeks ago, or I don't even remember how long ago that was now.
Yeah, I have 2 lineups of Ibaka. He's the flat minimum on FanDuel, so great. I hope those are in the best lineups I have. But
actually, give Hartenstein more minutes than Ibaka off the bench.
I think I basically had them equal, although I was close to that at that point. Anything else we should touch on right now? I'm going to pull up Yahoo right now, see what. Do you know if they've posted their Super Bowl contest yet?
I'll check.
I don't know what you're laughing at, but I don't think it's good for me.
It's indifferent. It's so Rondo came in for the Cavs, and just the offense is all kinds of ridiculous. Like they have no chance to score right now. Their last possession was just Chetty pounding the ball for about 15 seconds while everybody else stood around. And then he took like a spinning fadeaway 3. And that's just all their possessions right now are just one-on-one. Mobley just hit a shot over Valanciunas and drew an and one. But It's every single possession is just, we can't do anything. We're going to go one-on-one. And the guys they go one-on-one with, it's like Chetty one-on-one against Devontae Graham or Isaac Okoro going one-on-one against somebody. The offense is going to be a mess.
$1 million big game baller on Yahoo, 150K to first, full $1 million prize pool for the Super Bowl. Standard issue management fee there, but 150K up top, 20 to get in. That's going to be an excellent contest for you guys. Make sure you're checking that one out. They do have a 50K everyone wins contest. Definitely another solid contest for you guys to get into. Don't see there is all the no management fee contests are all relatively small, but if that is your cup of tea, please go ahead and check those out. But the $1 million big game baller looking pretty good on Yahoo. Awesemo.com/Yahoo-promo for you guys.
So yeah, Rondo came in for Dean Wade. I guess so. Rondo is probably going to play a substantial amount of minutes. Checked in 3 minutes into the first quarter.
I mean, I think he has to because I don't think that they can generate any offense otherwise.
And by the way, they're playing, if I'm not mistaken, I think Willie Hernangomez and Valanciunas are on the court together now.
Hasn't updated yet for me on ESPN, but that sounds like it'd be good and awful. Yeah. No, Hernangomez is off.
No,
it's Hernangomez and now nobody.
It's the starting lineup from last game. So, or not the total starting lineup, but starting front court, Herb Jones and Hernangomez.
Yeah. Hart, Alvarado, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker are the rest of the guys on here.
Let's see what's going on in the Sixers game, because that's a game I have a lot of exposure to. But I'm so just in a trance watching this terrible Cavs offense. Oh, Chetty, another layup, got fouled by Hernangomez, but the ref missed it. All right, what's going on here? Maxey, 6 points, a rebound, and an assist. Tobias Harris, 7 points.
Maxey with a block as well.
Yeah. Tobias Harris, 7 points, and assist, a pair of blocks. Drummond, 4 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Sixers rolling 20 points for the Sixers halfway through the first quarter with no Embiid.
Looking good. Niang, first guy off the bench for Harris, which leads me to believe that we might see Tobias Harris running 3 rotations in the first half.
He's going to have to put like a massive amount of minutes.
Yeah.
Especially
I like the idea. I like the
good.
idea of him running the second unit when Maxey's off the floor. I think that's good for me. 5 minutes to go here. Things looking good, man. Things looking pretty darn good. I thought we were going to get a lot of news in this half-hour stretch, and I'm not sure I've seen another tweet.
Well, there's nobody left on the injury report.
Is that right?
There,
I mean, we still have like starting lineups and shit to come in, right? No? I don't know.
let's
Toronto,
see.
Atlanta, I guess we had nothing to worry about once Trae Young was out. Miami, Boston, we already got all that news. Sacramento, New York, we got that news. We know the Warriors lineup. We don't know Houston's lineup yet. Portland, OKC. I mean, Portland, OKC is like mildly interesting. I thought it was really wild that JRE got sent down to the G League today, played the game, got called back up, and now isn't playing today, likely. But apparently neither is Isaiah Roby.
Are they even allowed to play doubleheaders?
Yes.
Are they allowed to do that?
They are. They are.
That Heat starting lineup is so ugly. Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Duncan Robinson, Caleb Barton, Bam Adebayo.
And they'll probably, that game's going to be like 81-79.
Are they really just bringing Hero off the bench at this point to ensure that he is in the running for 6th man of the year? Like, why not just start Tyler Hero?
I don't know. On a day like today, I don't know. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me in that aspect, but I don't know. I mean, like, I think the real, like, actual important question, whether or not we're bringing Tyler Hero off the bench or starting Tyler Hero, is, does it even matter? Because I think he just sucks.
Well, I don't think he sucks. Yeah, that's probably an overstatement. I do think if we're going to get into a different conversation, I think he's wildly overvalued in the betting market in terms of his odds to win 6th man of the year. Like, I think Kevin Love has had a much better season than Tyler Hero if we're just going through some of the advanced stats and the rates. Yet Kevin Love is 65-1 to win 6th man of the year, and Tyler Hero is like -600. I understand he has the archetype of a player who typically wins 6th man of the year, but I don't think he's been that much better than everybody else that he deserves to have those kind of odds. But given what's left of the Heat right now, they just don't have very much shot creation. I think he should be in the starting lineup.
53% true shooting this year, barely positive on dunks and threes, not like the shots on the website itself. I mean, if the goal is that Tyler Hero goes out to chop up the second unit, he's failing at it.
Yeah, and he has been much worse this month than he was in previous months. If you look at him, at least in January, the big issue, he's shooting 34.6% from three. Compare that to November, he shot 40% from three. December, he shot 39% from three. He's just not making his threes, and he's taking more of them now.
Yeah. Either way, I don't have a lot of interest in Tyler Hero. So, Eric Traub, I don't think that I'm overstating anything. I don't think that he's ever actually been good. He snarled once in the bubble, and people soaked themselves for it. 2020 Rookie of the Year, -1.5 offense, -1.9 defense, plus minus. 2021, -1.4 and -1.3. This season, +0.3 and -1.4. He's an unquestioned, not good defender that doesn't appear to be all that great at putting the ball in the basket to begin with. I don't think it's hyperbole. I don't think that I would want him on the contract that he is going to demand next. I don't think that I would take him for free.
I would take him for free.
I mean, I don't mean like if I paid him nothing, that would be fine. I don't know if I would want to trade for him. I don't know if I would want to trade for him if I gave up nothing, if I know that I have to give him the extension at the end of next season.
Yeah, I'm definitely not paying him out of my pocket to play basketball for the Heat. That's something
he's going to ask for what? 4 and 80?
Yeah, it'll probably be pretty substantial, especially here's something else that's dumb. For whatever reason, he probably commands more money if he wins 6th Man of the Year award, which who cares? I mean, I care because of my betting market bets, and I did bet Tyler Hero to win 6th Man of the Year before the season started.
Dumbest award in sports.
It's a dumb one. No, actually, not come back. Most improved is dumber because most improved is kind of like, hey, you know how you kind of sucked last year and now you're better? Here's an award for that.
6th man's dumb. Can you imagine if they gave out an award that anybody cared about? They were like slot receiver of the year. The 6th man of the year, for all, like, generally speaking, is just because you're not good enough to continue to play with your starting unit.
Or teams just want to give, like, Lou Williams was a very good scorer for a very long time and was better than players who started ahead of him. But because there was this concept of we need scoring off the bench, he came off the bench. You could just as easily play him the first 4 minutes of the game, sub him out. But whatever, we're at the end of the show, and who cares about us ranting about 6
I think Ginobili as the 6th man was a tactical decision by the San Antonio Spurs, and he was very clearly going to be on the floor as an asset when the game was on the line. That's the only one that I could think of where it was like smart.
Maybe Kevin Love this year, just because he probably can't handle playing 30 minutes per game.
They also have no reason to start him if you can continue to play Evan Mobley and he's playing. There's no value in Kevin Love to start. 7:30, man. Nerlens Noel available to play, and that is where we're going to leave it. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No. Good luck tonight, everybody. If you haven't done so already, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll be back tomorrow with all the same stuff. But it'll be Eric and I. If you guys haven't seen Eric's dog, follow him on Twitter because he's got the best dog ever.
I haven't seen it. That's awesome.
You haven't seen Eric's dog?
No.
Eric's dog rules.
I'll check it out right now.
Yeah, Eric just got a puppy like 3 days ago, and it's the cutest dog I've ever seen.
All right, let me check it out. Later, everybody.